As the leader of the Booner Pack, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the f*** up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juices pumping, boys.
It's a great night and a great day to be a Detroit Lions fan.
Oh my gosh.
Tell you what, Frank Ragnow becoming a Detroit Lion today. Some are calling it Franksgiving.
Oh, I have not heard that. That's incredible. Who did that?
I think it was, is it Matt Derry?
Matt Drury? That's Doc's guy.
I think he hosts Locked On Lions. Someone said, I don't know who said it, Franksgiving.
That's
early.
Incredible.
Frank Ragnow is a Detroit Lion, and we're going to be discussing it. We have John Macaroon joining. We got Dusty Evely joining. We got an all-star cast tonight on top of the news that's happened. It's going to be a great show. I can't believe it. Where were you in this? What was your reaction? I think that's like the first question I'll ask.
Oh my gosh.
By the way, like when you texted the group, when you texted me, I looked at it. I looked at it. I go, there's no way. There's no way. And I immediately dropped everything I was doing, shot over to my computer, hit record. The reaction video you can check out. It's all raw reaction. I couldn't believe it. So what were you doing?
Dude.
When you saw that notification?
This is one of those moments in life, and this sounds crazy, but for like what we do, covering the Lions and covering the team, and also at the same time being fans of the Lions, like you don't always get that, you know. And in this industry, sometimes you have to go to different cities, and we get to cover the Lions, the team that we love, Jeff. Today was one of the moments, like that was probably a top 3 moment. Like, you know, you have the playoff win, you have, you know, the NFC Championship, but going to that. Winning the NFC North, all of that, like all those moments for me were huge. I don't know what it was today, Jeff. Like I had that excitement in my body, like we won the NFC North for the first time. Like that hit me again. I was working today. I was sitting there at my desk doing some work at home. I was working from home today because it's Thanksgiving tomorrow. So I was working from home, getting some stuff done. And I saw, and listen, Jeff, I think I might have been one of the first people to see it. I have the Lions alerts on. I got an alert. Boom. I see Frank Ragnow picture. I go, what is that? What is that? And there was no likes on the tweet yet. And I go, Frank's going to be at the game tomorrow. Sick. Like, can you suit up? That was my first thought. Within 10 seconds, boom, I get another alert. I have Ian Rappaport's alerts on. Ian Rappaport quote tweets. It's true. Frank Ragnow's coming out of retirement. My jaw dropped. I sat at my desk, Jeff. I swear. I was going to tell you before the show. I fell to my knees. I was like I almost fell to my chair. Like I was like, there's no way that this is real life right now. Like there's no way that this is happening. And I texted the boys right away. I Caleb texted in there and said, "Boys," I said, "I know, I got it." Got on socials, posted it all. Incredible feeling. Like I don't know, dude. It was like I was speechless. I literally walked over to my laptop and I just sat there like in awe. Like, because realistically, and I think Lions fans know this, you know this, you've talked on the show earlier today and like had these conversations, I'm sure, with everyone. This Lions season at the moment, like 12 hours ago, I'll say it, like it felt a little hopeless, if we're being honest. Like, your offensive line has been your bread and butter, and it's bad. Like, your offensive line was so bad, and it felt so hopeless, where it was like, we have so many good players. This roster has been built perfectly besides depth at the offensive line. And, like, we all knew, like, the number one way for us to get back was to have, like, a legit center. Like, me and you talked about it for months now. Like, the offseason, you have to go get a center. That changed today. The news today has changed everything in Detroit. And people might be like, you guys are all overreacting. Lions fans are overreacting. I think Lions fans could be underreacting. Like, this is huge. I don't think people realized Frank Ragnow did not just retire at the bottom of his game. This guy was second team All-Pro. He was the second best center in the NFL after last season when he hung up his cleats. The second best center at his position. It's not like you're getting back a player that was like, oh, he's going to be the 10th best center. He's going to return, Jeff, in 3 weeks or whenever it is. He will be a top 5 center instantly in the NFL.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And your offensive line is going to change instantly. Like, you have now a top 5 offensive line. And I think a lot of people are like, you guys were just saying they were bad a couple. They were so bad. When you add Frank Ragnow, the second best center in the NFL, to this offensive line, it changes the whole offensive line. You now have just given Jared Goff an extra 2 seconds to throw the ball. You have now given your run game another step, and your offensive line is now a top 5 offensive line again in the NFL. You are going to go win a Super Bowl this year. If Frank Ragnow stays healthy and he is back on his game like he was to end last year, this is a Super Bowl team. The defense you have with now the roster and the O-line you have, you will win a Super Bowl. People put in the chat there, the Booner path is officially, we're rolling again, Jeff. Like, we are back. The Booner path and Frank Ragnow, we are back. Come on, Jeff. I was so happy today. I've not been this happy in so long. It was genuine joy.
Yeah, it's genuine joy. By the way, Frank Ragnow being back undeniably puts the Lions in solidified contender status. They're contenders, but right now we can safely say with the addition of Frank Ragnow, and I know people might say, well, is he going to be the same exact? Even if he's, let's say hypothetically, Boone, he's 85, 90% of what he was.
He's still top 5 at his position.
Still one of the best at his position, playing a position not only the Lions desperately need, but it's one of the most important positions on your offensive line, in which they struggled this year to figure out.
Oh my gosh.
It's so important. And I want to just bring this up just to show people how important Frank Ragnow is. Shout out to Colton Pouncey. He actually said all these stats on Lions Collective, and you kind of teased it already. It's a perfect transition. This is from 22 to 24 when Frank was playing with and without Frank Ragnow. This is the difference Frank Ragnow makes, okay? For those who don't know what EPA is, basically, it's expected points. Basically what it means is how much better of an offense they were with Frank and without Frank. So with Frank from 22 to 24, they were second in EPA per play. Without him, 16th. Third in blitz EPA per play. Without him, 19th. Third in sack rate. Without him, 25th. 25th. Third in offensive success rate. With him, without him, 24th. 7th in rushing success. Without him, 30th. With him, pressure rate, 10th in the league. Without him, 29th. That's the type of impact Frank Ragnow made. That was 2 years when he was here.
Wow.
2 years to last year. He is a difference maker. It's like Amon-Ra or Aiden Hutchinson just retiring. And then you're adding that type of caliber player. It's like if Aiden Hutchinson just retired and came back, you'd be like, all right, boys, like we got a good D-line now. Like, That's how it feels with Frank Ragnow. Even though you have Penei Sewell, and Penei is amazing, Frank is like the anchor. He's the anchor of that offensive line, man. He makes everyone else better. Tate Ratledge is fired up because now you get to learn from Frank, play next to Frank. Jared's fired up.
Jared Goff might be the happiest human in the world right now.
Jared Goff is so happy.
Oh, dude.
2 seconds to throw the ball. You know, it's great. He upgrades everyone around him. He's just
I want to say this too, and I think a lot of people let this kind of gloss over. And Jeff, me and you have been on shows for years now, and I've talked about Frank a lot. One thing that I've always brought up about Frank, I go back to an interview on 97.1 with Jared Goff talking about Frank Ragnow. And you don't see this with centers a lot. You don't even hear about with Graham this year. But Jared brought up at one point, I've probably told this story a million times, when Jared's on 97.1 and essentially goes, Frank Ragnow isn't just like when you talk about on field, the best center. Frank is in meetings. He said Frank is in quarterback, meetings. And when they meet at 5, 6 in the morning, Frank's the one that's in there. Frank's the one that's watching film with Jared Goff 24/7. Frank's the one that's sitting out there calling out blitzes and looking at schemes and looking at different, how do we need to block this? What do we need to do for this? How we talked about how they had to move Graham Glasgow from guard to center because Tate was younger and a little bit more experienced and calling out different defenses and kind of, hey, this is how we're going to block that. Like, Frank is one of the best in the league at that. Like, this offensive line on field didn't just change. You essentially have another coach on the field now. That's what you have with Frank Ragnow. Like, he is going to be like another Jared Goff out there. And we all know kind of how big of a deal that is especially for this offense when you're talking about maybe a little, slower Taylor Decker or injured Taylor Decker, Graham, some rookies out there. Think about, and I don't want to take your thunder, but like even just having Frank or Tate Ratledge in the middle of Frank Ragnow and Penei Sewell, like what does that do for even just Tate, not with at center, but at guard? Like how good does that help Tate take a step back and just be like, okay, now like I'm learning from one of the best of all time at his position on just pre-snap stuff, not even just during the snap, but just pre-snap stuff. Frank is one of the best in the league at pre-snap stuff. So I think it just changes the game in that aspect too. And I don't think a lot of people realize just that as well going in there. And Frank's probably, since he's spoken with the Lions, I'm sure he's been in the film room already with Jared Goff, and I'm sure they've had conversations and they're ready to go. And obviously it's not tomorrow. I know we have the game tomorrow already. I know that's not going to happen tomorrow, but you look at the Rams game in a couple weeks. If you get Frank Ragnow in for that, that's a game changer, man. Like that change with that defensive line we talked about it yesterday, that D line that the Rams have, man, that is a game changer if you have Frank Ragnow in the middle there. Especially calling out different blocking schemes and different pre-snap things. I think that changes this Lions offense a lot. It really does. And like you said, it opens. Dude, what were me and you arguing about yesterday?
Yeah, the deep passing game.
Yeah, like now Jared, as much as people are like, hey, we don't know if he's going to have time, he's going to have more time now. Like you just added a guy that's elite pre-snap and as well as elite on the field, top 3 in his position. He's going to have more time now. You saw yesterday or 2 days ago, whenever the game was, how bad Graham Glasgow and Yodi were. Now you have an opportunity to move Graham to guard, and then until Christian Mahogany gets back, and you have that Ragnow kind of being that anchor in the middle. It changes a lot. It really does, man.
Yeah, it's like what Nick P just said. Ragnow will also, it's opening up the middle, which helps who? David Montgomery. I mean, that's another player. I mean, I'm telling you, he's the type of guy. He's not there's not too many players on this team like him. There's not. There's a lot of great players, but the way Frank can impact an entire offense, it's like Aiden. I mean, that's like the closest comp I can make, because having Aiden helps your entire defense. Having Penei helps your O-line. Having a guy like Frank, he's kind of in that equation. Like because he plays an important position. Center is so important. You have to be cerebral. You got to be athletic. Yep. You got to be basically the anchor for an O-line. And Frank did that at, like you pointed out earlier, the highest level. He did it second team All-Pro, like you said. That means he was the second best center that year. So the impact he can make on the passing game, the run game, everything. Jared Goff staying alive. I mean, he will do so many good things. And then there's the off the field benefit, which you nailed. He helps everybody around him. Tate Ratledge, like that's a guy that had to kind of find his way with Graham next to him. And listen, all due respect to Graham, I bet Graham's ecstatic to have Frank back, because it looked like he was kind of overwhelmed with everything as well. He's playing center. It's not working out for him. Tate's in a tough spot. Now Tate Ratledge is insulated. He's basically between 2 all-pro players. Like that's the type of situation Tate Ratledge is in now.
Insane.
So it honestly is, like, aside from the physical benefits, it is a morale boost. Like imagine being like Taylor Decker or Penei, even Graham, like dealing with all these injuries, man. And you're just like, damn, like, I'm sure they've thought about it this year. It's like, man, it'd be nice to have Frank here, and then all of a sudden you get this news, which, by the way, they definitely knew of this before it happened. There's not a doubt in my mind. There's no way that Taylor and Graham or Penei didn't know this was going to happen. Like they definitely were talking to Frank at some point. I'm not saying they were recruiting him, but I'm saying they definitely had some indication. But imagine when they got that text or they got the hint he was coming back, how much juice that gives you. Like now it's like,
if I was them, like Jared, my heart would drop. Like there's no, oh my gosh.
Like
thank you, Lord.
There is a God. He's coming to save us. Frank Ragnow's coming to save us. Someone commented this in the earlier show on Lions Collective. It was hilarious. He's like, I've never would have thought a center would ignite this much juice into a fan base. It's the truest thing. A center. This is how and not just that, but an elite center for that matter. He's a very good player. And this, you guys, I mean, for those who have been Lions fans for a while, longer than I've been alive, you know how rare, and I think this speaks also to kind of the regime also, Like, imagine if there was a different regime here. Frank Ragnow ain't coming out of retirement. Like, he ain't doing that. When Barry Sanders retired, he was done. I'm done. You know, same with Calvin Johnson, Megatron. He's like, I'm done. This sucks. To have a guy like Frank be like, I miss playing ball. Like, if winning's fun, and they're trying to chase the Super Bowl, and I've never won that. Like,
yeah,
I think
imagine the storyline of that.
Era. It is just a different era.
Yeah, dude. I mean, honestly, just in the NFL in general, like, how often do you actually see? I mean, there are guys who come out of retirement, Darren Waller. Like, there are certain guys who have. How often though do you actually see it where a guy's like
a Lions player?
Yeah, like for the fact that this Lions team has an opportunity to win a Super Bowl and Frank is at home, and you know what's crazy is Dan was asked about it, and they asked Dan, and obviously like Dan's probably not going to straight up be like, yeah, this is what's happening. But like Dan was asked about it, and Dan was like, I haven't reached out to Frank about coming back. I don't think anyone has. Like the fact that really no one has reached out, according to Dan Campbell at that moment. But then Frank on his own is like, I want to come back, like reached out to Dan and reached out to those guys and was like, I want to come back. I think that shows that Frank's at home. Like I saw some people tweeting out like, oh, well, Frank, like he didn't want to play. Like his heart's not in it. I think I saw Valenti say something like that. Like his heart's not in it. Like whatever it is.
Right.
Dude, like the fact that he's at home and he sees his crew, like his boys battling and be like, man, like that offensive line needs me. Like Frank Ragnow sitting there watching Crunch Time Sports and watching us go at the offensive line the last 2 weeks. And he's probably like, I'm tired of hearing this. Like, I'm healthy. I'm good to go. I've stayed in shape. I'm in playing shape. Like, I'm going to go help the boys out. Like, I want to win a Super Bowl. I want to help the boys out. And the crazy thing about, like, this guy's still under contract. That's what I think is like, and I told you before the show, I said we could talk about it on the show. I have a legit thought that, Jeff, you could tell me if you think like where you're at with this.
Yeah.
Now that Frank is now unretired, they officially, the Lions actually about an hour ago tweeted it out that they officially took him off the retirement list. He is back in.
I think this week was the last week to do it.
Today was the last day. So you have until week 13. You have until the day of the game, week 13. Today was the final day. So once it hit midnight, because the Lions play tomorrow, once it hit midnight tonight, Frank could not return. So he waited until the last day to be like, I'm back. I'm coming back. So he knew it, and obviously he had an idea that was the day. Now that he's back, though, Jeff, he is now under contract this year and next year. Again, obviously he could retire again, all that. He is under contract with the Detroit Lions through the normal contract that he had. Like, nothing changes on that part. So he still has another year after this year on his contract. I told you before the show, like, and this might sound crazy, but I think the fact that he decided to come back, one, shows that he's healthy again. He feels like he's okay to play. And he's been able to take the last 10 to 11 months to heal, like to really take the time and let his body heal to where, you know, before he had the foot thing. And they said like, hey, your foot's never going to get healed if you don't take the time. And there's just in an NFL career, like you don't ever have the time, right? Like even in the off season, you're having to go. So for him, like took the last 10 to 11 months. Hopefully that foot has healed. Hopefully some of these other injuries have healed. I think there's a real world where this season ends and Frank's like, dude, I'm still under contract for one more year. I'll play one more season. I'll go another year. Like, let's run this thing back again. And I don't think that's that crazy to think. And I would, in my mind, I actually think there's a better chance of Frank actually coming back next year than him hanging it up at the end of the season again. Now, the only thing I think that maybe he would hang it up is if they do win the Super Bowl. He's like, dude, that's like coming out of retirement, playing and winning a Super Bowl. It's incredible. Like, that's really it. But I think there's a world like he has that extra year on his contract into next year to 2026. If I'm a Lions fan, like I'm holding out hope being like, hey, I think Frank Ragnow can go one more year. And I think he might want to go another year as well.
I don't think that's crazy. I think that's actually spot on, to be honest with you, because I think he said it himself before in an interview. He values what a contract means. Like I think he said it multiple times. Like, I don't know who brought up Alliance Collective. It might have been Will Birchfield or Justin. I forgot who brought it up, but essentially he said that before, that he wanted to honor his contract. Obviously, the injuries were a lot for him.
Yeah,
maybe there was a little bit of a strategic player. Maybe it just came out of nowhere where he wanted to play again. But he had, like you said, the last 11 months essentially to rest, heal up as much as possible, and now you get to come in for kind of a late season push. The Lions didn't make a playoff run last year. They got bounced in game 1. So he had plenty of time off. I mean, basically an extra month off. So I think you're onto something there. And honestly, I know Jared Goff is easy to say like he's the happiest. How high is Brad Holmes on that list for butchering this center position? And now you get Frank back in middle of the year or late to the middle of the year.
Yeah.
He's probably like, yes. I
tweeted it out. It essentially what it was, and I don't know if they knew. Essentially, what happened today is that you just had an extra trade deadline. Like no team in the NFL had the opportunity to bring back a top 5 center on their team. No contending team. The Lions had the luxury of having an opportunity. Do you know what I'm saying? That's essentially like a trade deadline acquisition. And I think Brad got lucky. I don't know if Brad knew, unless Brad knew the whole time, and that was why he didn't make a move. But I think like majority of Lions fan base, at least in our conversations, was we need interior. Like you need to trade for an interior lineman. And that was like, in my opinion, the number one need at the trade deadline. You just essentially have it. That's a trade deadline acquisition, essentially. You just added one of the best interior offensive linemen in the entire NFL mid-season. It's incredible. It's incredible. It's better than anything you could have done at the trade deadline.
Now,
so hopefully Brad knew, and that's why he actually didn't make a move.
That's where I think we're speculating. I don't know.
I'm just saying hopefully.
Yeah. No.
I'm saying hopefully.
Because it's really, I see people in the chat right now asking it. Like, do you think they knew? Dan, no way they knew.
Wait, I think there's a chance. Okay.
Not this entire time. Because Dan wouldn't be like, that ship has sailed. Like, he's happy. Like, they even, I think even the media said they talked to players and they're like, and even the players were like down about it. But the last like week, this week, it's been a little different. But there's no way he was like, I'm gonna retire for a majority of the season.
Okay. But think back to what Dan said during the trade deadline. He said Brad brought to him some things, and there was nothing that moved the needle for Dan. So if they brought to him interior offensive line, and Dan in the back of his head knew we could be getting Frank back, do you think Dan's just like not going to move the needle? I've got Frank coming. Not going to move the needle. I've got Frank coming.
But you didn't know that was a certain. They didn't know if it would be for certain.
No,
I don't even think that. I don't know. I think that's too much speculating. You think they knew?
They're going to ask, and Dan's usually. I think Dan will be honest about it now that it's over.
Let's look at it. I'll play devil's advocate. Why come back now? If you had weeks, if you were thinking about it for weeks, why come back now when basically it's win or die for the next couple weeks, and he ain't going to play for a couple weeks?
He probably was waiting for a certain time. Honestly, there could be a world where Frank did reach out and say, "Hey, I'm thinking about it. I want to." And they kind of sat back and just said, like, whenever you want. And Frank was the one that came at this time. And they probably told Frank, this is the last day you can do it. So if you're going to do it, you have to do it by the 26th. So, maybe a month ago, Frank came to them and said, hey, I have thought about potentially, or maybe they went to him and said, hey, I don't know if this is a thing. And maybe Frank thought about it for the last few weeks. And they said, hey, 26 is the last day for you. They knew. I don't know how far back they knew, but they knew that it was coming. Because think about it. Why would Frank just pick the 26th, the deadline day? He knew that this was the deadline day. Someone told him in his circle. Brad, Dan, whoever it was. He knew that this was the deadline day. So that means he must have known for a little while for him to, on deadline day, hey, boys, I'm back.
I don't know. I mean, now we're playing a little wizard hat. It could be right. Now we're kind of.
You think Frank just randomly was like, "Hey, I want to come back this week," and they're like, "Oh, good thing it's the deadline." What timing from you, Frank? Like, they knew. Like, someone there knew.
Well, he could easily hit up like his agent or something and be like, "Hey,
that's what I'm saying." Someone had some, and I'm sure if his agent did it, you still want to communicate that with the Lions, so they have some sort of in the back of their head. They have. I don't think it was just an out of nowhere. Hey, last week Frank came and was like,
because think about it. Dan Campbell, yesterday in the press conference seemed he was juiced.
He probably got the news that he was official.
He was probably like, oh yeah.
I'm sure over the last month or a couple of weeks, I'm sure Dan in the back of his head knew that Frank was considering it. I would find it hard to believe if Frank comes back, since he came back, that he wasn't thinking about it for.
Well, they'll ask him when he talks to the media. We'll find out. Yeah. All these questions will be asked when he speaks to the media. I want to get to these two super chats. Anakin says, thank you for the $2. Anakin says, I may have dropped my phone seeing the news. LFG. Anakin, you're not alone on that one. Jace, appreciate the $2. Says, tomorrow got harder. he or she, I don't know, Jason, unisex name, whatever it is. Tomorrow got harder due to injuries, though, man. Yeah, by the way, I wish he could play tomorrow, to be honest. Jace.
What if he did? What if he did just pull up to Ford Field? Yeah, I think he's going to probably be at Ford Field tomorrow. Right?
Yeah.
Not suited up, but on the sidelines.
But I would imagine he's there. I wish he could play tomorrow because they have Tristan Colon playing center tomorrow, and they have Yodi, and it's not great because they have 6 games left. They're 7-4. Like you can't go 500. They got to go minimum 4-3, or what would that be? Well, they have to go 4-2. They have to go 4-2 because then you'd be what 11-6.
Yeah,
to make the playoffs. So they got to go 4-2.
I think you have to win one of these next two to kind of be in a good spot.
If they lose this week,
you have to be Dallas.
You got to be Dallas, but you only really can afford to lose maybe to the Rams, and 11-6 would maybe get you in. But they got to lock in now because you won't get Frank for probably, what would you say? I would say
Rams game. I think is the first.
Rams, yeah.
I think Shefty tweeted out and said it's unlikely he plays for the Cowboys. Now, I will say this, and if I'm being honest, they said he's in game shape. He's ready to go. He's stayed in shape, and he's obviously you have to get in there. And Frank's probably, if anyone in the world could get acclimated to this again, it's probably Frank because he knows I'm sure the playbook like the back of his hand. There's probably some things he has to work on with John Morton and Dan now calling play, so I'm sure there's a little adjustment. But I would say this: if they do lose tomorrow, knock on wood, Jeff, I would think Frank plays versus Dallas. Like I would think that they try and push it. That's just my opinion.
Because now it's like you can't afford.
Yeah, it's like, hey, it's time to go. Because Shefty being like it's unlikely, that doesn't mean it's impossible. If you lose, you're probably looking at it being like, it's a must win at this point. So
because it comes down to really just the physical aspect. Because mentally, dude, he can get the playbook, and I mean, he could sit down with Dan and
John. He does it by tomorrow.
Yeah, that's nothing. It's really just physically, like getting his body acclimated to the physicality of playing football again, and being able to move around 300-pound defensive lineman.
Frank Ragnow legit was going to be rocking the uniform. Like he's going to be playing football again. Like I just get hit every like hour. I just smile big and I go like, I'm about to watch Frank Ragnow play football again.
I want him to play,
man,
in the Dallas game because I want his first start to be at Ford Field. Like I want him to walk out of that tunnel, dude.
And I tweeted it out. I didn't break the decibel record when Frank gets announced.
He walks out of that. Like I'm getting goosebumps now when he walks out of that freaking tunnel, bro. Ford Field is going to go crazy.
Oh,
absolutely crazy. I don't want his first game to be the Rams. I want to see him at Ford Field in his debut. Because then
I think he plays versus Dallas, dude. I truly do. I think that there's just no way you're sitting there with Frank being like, he's like, guys, I'm in shape. Like, I'm good to go. You think Frank's just going to sit there and be like, yeah, I'm good again. Isn't Frank a guy? Hold on. I'm going to look this up real quick. Frank Ragnow. Hold on. I could be wrong. I think I'm thinking of Panay. Yeah, Frank's a guy that just doesn't miss games. Like last year, 16 out of 16, 15, 16. He had 1 year or 4, so probably a major injury. 14, 15, 16. He's not a guy that's like, I'm just going to sit on the sideline. If he's good, he's like, I want to play. Like, why am I sitting on the sideline?
Hey, imagine this. Nick P says the Titans released Zeitler. No, now we're playing Wizard Hat, but imagine.
Dude, if that happened, we would win the Super Bowl. Oh my god!
Imagine Zeitler. Zeitler's over there in Tennessee. He sees Frank. He's like, and then he goes to the Titans like, give me one more shot. Joins the Lions. Let me finish it out with the Lions, man. That would be.
That probably won't happen. I listen though. I genuinely, I think like what you have now is it's very good. Like I do think Tate's good. And I think if Christian Mahogany gets back, I know, Jeff, you're like, he hasn't been good. I don't think, like, go to PFF. I know we don't PFF. Mahogany hasn't been the worst in the world. You put him in between Frank now, and you have Frank next to Christian Mahogany. I mean, this thing changes, man. And you have Miles Frazier that just got back and activated today. Breaking news. Miles Frazier is back.
Yeah, you could have Miles and Tate together with Frank at some point. Maybe if he outplays Yodi, Or Graham obviously would start there, but I think Graham played left guard. I don't think he was great at it. Remember, he was playing left guard for a while.
He hated it. Remember in the offseason, he was like, I didn't like it.
So I don't know what that's going to look like there. I don't know what they want to do, but whoever plays that left guard spot will be interesting for the rest of the year. But man,
Frank Ragnow, dude, that fires me up so much, dude.
Yeah, honestly, dude, everyone has every right to be like Super Bowl. I mean, that's the type of player he is. Like the biggest question mark to me, like the only question mark is now the pressure I know we haven't seen him play a game. And again, like even if Frank isn't 100% Frank, let's say he's 85, they're still in so much better. I mean, it's not even funny. Now,
can I say this?
To me, the question goes, now everyone's going to be looking at the play calling. It's like, hey, you got the pieces. Let's see this thing. Now, let's see it now. What were you going to say? I was going to
say, there's one person, and you know this very well. There's one person that I kind of look to a little bit when there are big moments in Lions world. This person's typically pretty negative, but if this person's positive about something, I know it's like, okay, this is real. Adam Baydoun. I'll tell you what, Adam, he's a pretty and he's not going to be mad that I say this. He's a pretty negative person when it comes to the Lions sometimes, and different takes and being like, yeah, no, like they're done, like this isn't happening. When he says something positive, I look in the mirror, Jeff, because you know me, I'm kind of a slappy. I argue with you, and sometimes Adam hates me sometimes because I say something too positive. He's like, you're an idiot. When he says something positive, it fires me up.
Caller from the D's funny, sorry.
It fires me up. Did you see the tweet today?
I did see his tweet.
Can I pull it up for the people? We're allowed to show his stuff, right?
Yeah, fuck him. If you don't want to see Adam stuff.
When Adam says something positive, I'm telling you what, Adam tweeted out, Frank Ragnow retiring equals 1, a happier Thanksgiving, 100%. 2, the Jared Goff we've seen in Detroit is back. If Adam's saying that about Jared Goff, is Adam caller from the D, by the way?
Yeah, remember that?
I forgot about
that.
He
yelled at Jeff on the show. Remember caller from the D?
Yes. I forgot all about that, dude. Oh, I haven't heard from Chef since.
Yeah. Shout out, Chef. But Adam Baydoun is happy. The world is aligned. I mean,
infinitely, I don't even know how to say that word. Upgraded the O-line, more time in the pocket to open up the playbook, and play action much improved. Spot on. Every single one of these. This is what we've been talking about for weeks, Jeff. Adam said it perfectly. Perfectly, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he nailed it. He brings a dimension. He brings you could just do so much more. Like we talked about the Lions, and I brought this up from Colton Pouncey. He actually put it out, and it was this tweet about the Lions are one of the worst teams over the last handful of years in pushing the ball downfield. They just haven't been able to do it because of their offensive line. They just haven't had the time. Jared has not had the time in the pocket to be able to do it. And this is here. Let me see. This is Colton's tweet. And I'm going to put this on here because this is what Frank's going to improve right here. This is the perfect example. So Colton put this out. Only 6.8% of the Lions' pass attempts this season have traveled 20 or more yards. 20 or more air yards, not 20, because yards after pushing the ball downfield. 32nd in the NFL. Currently the 4th lowest rate in a single season over the last decade. Not decade franchise history, Booner. NFL. 4th lowest in the NFL over the last decade. So he doesn't just help the pass protection, or excuse me, the run, the rushing attack with Jameer. He's already really good, obviously, but David Montgomery, he gives Jared just an extra second or two to be able to take those shots downfield for Jameis, for Isaac Tesla potentially. Like these guys, it makes everything. You're capable of more on offense. Now, whether they put it together or not, we're going to see. I have confidence they will, but he gives you more options.
For sure.
Way more options, man.
Can I say this? Because I actually saw someone in the chat ask Klotz, shout out Klotz in the chat, ask Klotz and essentially just be like, because Klotz said they're now from a fringe contender to a legit contender again. And then someone said, no matter what happens tomorrow, this is where I want people, Jeff. And I hope you agree with me on this, because like we try and be realistic and be honest, right? Don't let what happens the next 2 weeks make you forget what this team's going to be with Frank Ragnow. Like, Frank might not play the next 2 weeks. He's not going to play tomorrow. You are out. And then I don't know if we did the injury report yet. Graham Glasgow is out. Obviously, no Frank Ragnow. You still don't have Christian Mahogany. Like, this team tomorrow, Kirby Joseph is out. Brock Wright, your best tight end, is out. Like, you're missing a lot of pieces tomorrow. So, like, say you drop tomorrow. I don't want Lions fans, like, yeah, big deal for sure. Like, you want to win it. I don't want Lions fans and people to sit here and be like, this team's done. We don't even need Frank. We're dead. Like, yeah, like Schiff said, your playoff chances get slimmer 100% because you lost, so you're a little bit farther behind. But when these guys get healthy, once you do get Brock right back and you get Graham and Christian and Frank back potentially in the Dallas game or Rams game, this team changes drastically. Like, if you get Kirby back in Dallas, you get Frank back in Dallas, you get some of these guys back in Dallas, Jeff, like, even let's not even say Dallas, just in Los Angeles versus the Rams, it's a game changer. It changes everything. Like, that's a completely different football team you're putting out there than tomorrow. So I don't want people to let tomorrow affect how you actually think about this team come December, January. Because what did I say about Dan? Like, Dan always brings up a good point every year. It doesn't matter what we look like in September, October, November. What do we look like in December and January? Like, that's what it is. And when you add Frank to this team and these guys start to get a little healthy, this team's going to look different. Do not let tomorrow affect your thought process of an excitement for today. That's how I'm kind of going into tomorrow.
Yeah, because Frank wasn't here the last 11 games. So whatever happened, what the record is, it was without Frank Ragnow. So he
won't be here tomorrow.
Their focus right now is you just have to get in the playoffs. Ideally win your division. We'll see how it shakes up with the Packers schedule. That's obviously a plus to have home games, but you just need to make sure you're in the playoffs.
Yep.
Like, if that's the main concern. If they get in at 11-6, or if you go to 10-7, now hopefully the NFC kind of goes, like, teams drop off, like maybe the 49ers.
So good right now.
Maybe hopefully things happen, but you just need to get in there. And if you get in there, anything can happen because now you have Frank Ragnow. And I'm with you on that. Frank Ragnow is the type of player, he'll move a line. He'll move a line on game day. He'll move a line. He'll move the line on the Super Bowl odds. That's the type of player he is. Like,
I wish I knew that Frank was going to announce this, so I could have went and got the line. I looked at the lines right after. They're still, like, not high up there, but I wish I would have caught it before to see if there was line movement. I did not. I don't really know. To be honest, I really don't know how to check. Someone else might know.
That's the most important. That's what kind of player he is. Like, that Rams game, when they go to LA, they face the Rams, the line will be different because of Frank Ragnow. Like, if he plays next week, that line will be different because of Frank Ragnow.
Yeah. It's
just what kind of player he is. So yeah, I'm with you on that. You just need to get in the playoffs. However that looks, man. Like, if you lose this week, now it's like maybe focuses on winning next week, and then you got to at least try and take down the Rams. It'll make everything easier. It's just how it goes. So I'm with you on that. You don't want to overreact. Because you do have Frank Ragnow coming back and all these guys.
Yeah. Like, tomorrow's team, like, I'm going to call a spade a spade. It might be the worst Lions team this season you're putting out there tomorrow because of the players you're missing. Like, when I'm talking about, like, O-line, you're down almost half of your O-line. It ain't going to be
easy, man. It ain't going to be easy.
I want people to realize that. Like, I understand it is a must win. It feels like if you win this game, you're right. You're in the lead for the division. If you lose it, you're probably not winning the division. Like, I don't think the division's a must win because I just think you need to get into the dance, right? If you get in the dance and you get your team healthy and you add Frank Ragnow, you have to win one extra game and you do it on the road. Like, who cares if you're on the road? They were undefeated on the road last year. Like, that's not going to sit here and affect. Lions fans travel.
Yeah, you need to just get in. And tomorrow, the Packers, like, matchup wise, like, yeah, they can rush the passer. They can do that. You're missing 2 offensive linemen. You're going to see some things tomorrow. It's going to be, it's going to be tough.
It's not going to look great tomorrow. I'll tell you that.
They're going to have to battle. They're going to have to absolutely battle tomorrow. Like, tomorrow is going to be, I'm sure they're even saying it, like, boys, we just got to hold on. We got to hold on. We got to battle, because it's not like you're just putting everything on Frank's shoulders, but we got to just make it through. Just battle tomorrow. Try and steal a victory. I think for me, it's just hard. And I don't have, this is just a feeling. I don't have data to back it. It's hard for me to imagine Matt LaFleur sweeps Dan Campbell. It's just hard for me to imagine that. And I'm not saying all the odds are going to be tough. I mean, you're missing all these guys. That the Packers are a tough matchup, scheme, everything matchup wise. It's tough. But I just think tomorrow is just going to be it's hard for me to imagine.
I think, dude, said it yesterday. I think I'm with you. I think it's luckily like you're at home, so you have your home crowd on your side, because if you were going to Lambeau tomorrow with half of your offensive line down, you're in trouble. I think you win this game tomorrow. I think Dan is in meeting rooms today and yesterday, and you know what he's saying? It's one of those defense, you have to win us this game. And you know what? I hope Dan doesn't go for it on fourth downs and he puts this on the defense and you punt the ball and put him inside the 10 every time. Like, you know what I mean? You make Jordan Love beat you. That's what I'm hoping. And that's what I think it's going to end up being. I think it's going to be a low-scoring defensive game tomorrow. I really do. I believe that.
I see that. I kind of see the same thing you do. I think the thing they got to worry about is, not allowing what they did with Jameis Winston. He had the most time to throw last week and in the entire NFL. 3.36. He was first.
Who's he throwing to tomorrow? No Jaden Reed. Out. Matthew Golden. Out. Questionable.
Yeah. But
so
he is better than Jameis Winston. Because at least Jordan Love, and this, I know this is just a fact. I'm just the messenger. He is one of the best quarterbacks against the blitz. He just is.
All right, let's not blitz.
Yeah, and he's one of the best against man coverage.
When I say that, dude, I don't know if you remember versus the Giants when we were watching it and we were doing the watch party. We were like, I don't remember what it was. I think it was towards the end of the game. We were like, don't blitz, like only send 3 and put everyone else in like put everyone in coverage. They put 9 guys. They put 9 guys in coverage. Dot up for a touchdown at the back of the end zone. We were all like, no.
Yeah.
Oh, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Listen, it ain't gonna be easy tomorrow, man. And I know you say like, well, you don't have Jaden Reed. They have Watson and Dobbs. Like, they're not world beaters, but it's like,
no. I'm with Klotz too. I'm not a Jordan Love guy. I've been saying this for years with Klotz. Like, I think he's the most inconsistent good quarterback in the NFL.
Get out of here, Klotz.
I think he's just, you know what it is? I think with Bo Nix, is when he's good, but when he's not, and he's just so inconsistent. You don't know what Bo Nix you're getting every day. I think that's Jordan Love. You don't know what Jordan Love you're getting.
Higher though.
Okay, that's fine, but I just think like, yeah, but you get that ceiling twice a year.
I mean, they got it on Thanksgiving 2 years ago, a year.
Yeah, and that was probably the last time he's got to his ceiling.
Well, he had 400 yards against the Steelers.
Good for him. That was the other time he got to his ceiling.
I'm not.
It's saying, like twice a year. You've given me 2 examples. You proved my point. It's twice a year.
Well, I'm not saying. Listen, I'm not trying to argue. He's
did it versus the Cowboys and or the playoffs.
I'm not saying he's not overrated. I don't entirely disagree. I think the Bo Nix thing's a little insane from Klotz, but Jordan Love, when he's on, he does pose problems. I mean, yeah,
just don't let him get on, and I think that's fine.
Because it's a matchup like, okay, he's good against the blitz and he's good against man coverage. Lions they run a lot of zone. Maybe Calvin Shepard already knows all this stuff. He switches it up, and
I think if you could take Jordan Love out of this game somehow tomorrow, you win the game. I think Jordan Love, it's easy to get him out.
Just try and rattle a little bit. I know he's good against the blitz.
I think he does struggle and like when there's pressure, I think Jordan Love, I'm not talking about blitz pressure. I'm just saying pressure in general.
Yeah.
I think Jordan Love, that's when he kind of gets down a little bit. I'm interested though, like, it's gonna be a battle. I'll keep saying it. I think it's just gonna be one of those low scoring, like a defensive game tomorrow. That's what I'm getting that feeling. I really am.
Well, we'll talk to Dusty about it.
I love having Dusty on. It's my favorite, one of my favorite guests we have, man.
Dusty's been on like a world tour, or at least a Michigan tour. He's joining Pride of Detroit. Joined Pride of Detroit yesterday. He's joining the fellas today.
Shout out Jeremy over there.
I got to tell you about our friends over at Sleeper, and then we'll talk to Dusty about the game tomorrow. I've interrupted the video to tell you about our friends over at Sleeper in the new promotion they have going on. A brand new promotion is now live on Sleeper that could be paired with the 100% deposit match promotion that's already been going on. It's a free $20, no deposit required, plus first-time users will also receive 100% deposit match up to $100. Use the code CT Sports. You guys should already be using Sleeper. It's one of the fastest organically growing fantasy platforms in the entire world with millions and millions of active users. They are crushing it. And if your state allows it, you should be using Sleeper Picks. It's a real money product that connects friends over picks. You just choose 2 to 8 of your favorite players from pregame live or across different sports. Pick more or less than the predicted stats. And on Sleeper, you can get up to 1,000x payouts. Share with your friends. Get rewarded together. Don't forget, code CT Sports. Get a $100 deposit up to $100, and you got your free $20 entry. Sleeper is taking care of their customers. Always remember, gamble responsibly. Now let's get back to the video. All right, our good friend Dusty Evely joined the show week 1.
Come on now.
So hopefully he doesn't bring bad luck this time around. You could follow him on X at Dusty Evely. Let's bring him onto the show. Dusty, how are we doing, my friend?
Brother, I am doing good. It's a short week. I am very tired, but I'm thrilled to be talking with you guys. As like pretty much I think we missed last year this time because they also played Thanksgiving or around Thanksgiving. But thrilled to be talking ball with you guys again. Man.
Let's do it. Dusty, by the way, great day to be a Lions fan. Obviously, our hopes and dreams were crushed this year when Frank Ragnow retired. And then out of nowhere, the at least Michigan just stopped. Everyone just stopped in their tracks when Frank Ragnow news came out. Wasn't sure if it was a fake Adam Schefter account or a fake Ian Rappaport account. We triple checked. It's real. Frank Ragnow's back. I guess from like the Packers perspective, Frank Ragnow. You guys are very familiar with Frank Ragnow. You've had a ton of matchups with him. But just from your perspective, what kind of problems or what I guess your thoughts on just his return? What will it mean for the Lions, and what does it mean for just the division in general?
Yeah, the center sucks in Detroit. So this is from my perspective, it's bad. I mean, it sounds like he's 3 weeks out probably from doing anything. I assume he's been like just sleeping in the Stafford Airstream to get right. Like whatever magic was done in there was probably he did. But I mean, you guys know better than I do, man. Like center's been such a huge problem. The interior offensive line has been a problem for them, but center specifically, like they've not had an answer since Ragnow retired. So it's good for them. It's good for the Lions, obviously. And if he can kind of get right and get this stretch run and then get right during the stretch run, get into the playoffs. I mean, that's huge for them. They still, I think the guard positions are still a little wonky, but they solidify center, which has been just an issue for them all season. That's huge for, so good for you. Bad for me, although not bad for me this week. It really only affects me if like meet you guys in the playoffs. It doesn't affect me either way at the moment, but it should be good for you guys on the stretch here.
Yeah. Dusty, I want to ask you here, obviously with this matchup tomorrow, the one thing I think I'm most interested in, I saw the injury report today, and you guys have a couple guys that are questionable going into tomorrow. One thing that, every time we go into these weeks, we could see the injury report here in Detroit. It's different from someone like you who's kind of more, in tune with what's going on. What does it look like for the injury report for you guys tomorrow? I know Jaden Reed is out, it looks like, but like guys like Matthew Golden, questionable. I think I saw Quay Walker questionable as well. Are some of those guys going to play, or are you not going to see some of those guys on the field tomorrow?
Yeah, we're not sure at the moment. Still feeling it out. I mean, both those guys. I think I'm a little more certain on Golden, just because he had injured his shoulder 3 weeks ago, and then he kind of like he came back into the next game. He re-injured it, and then he was kind of like in and out of that game, and he was not moving right. And so this past week was like, it seemed like he was on the verge of going for the Vikings game, and then they pulled him. So to me, what that says is like, he probably was close. He's probably going to be somewhat limited, but I would assume he's going to go. If the shoulder was feeling good enough where he was almost like a game time decision this past Sunday, I assume that means he's going on Thursday. Quay is kind of a different story because he had a stinger, which is just kind of this like catch-all. No one knows exactly what a stinger is. There's no real recovery time for that. The fact that he's practicing at all is good. He was another one that was questionable this past week, but it didn't seem like Golden felt like he was close. Quay, there was like no feel for like, is he close? Is he not close? How is this? So the hope now and I mean, you guys know we get the short week and you get the practice, you get the injury reports, and it's just like, they may have done a walkthrough and they just kind of tell people like, if we did a practice, so it is like very much, I don't think they're lying. It is truthful, but at the same time, you don't get a feel for how a guy's moving out there. I think Quay probably truly is game time right now. Gun to my head, I would say he's probably going. Isaiah McDuffie played well He had the green dot last week. He played well in his stead. They want Quay out there. It's just a different level of athleticism with him out there. So right now I think he's probably going to go, but that's more based on gut and the fact that like he was listed as questionable at all. I kind of assumed he was not going. The fact that he was questionable and there's been some hope around that this week. Quay seems like Golden. I'm going to say like I'm 95% sure he's going. Quay, I'm more like 75. Like I'm leaning more often than more than he's not. I think he's going to play, and there's always seems like maybe they held those guys out to play on Thursday, but yeah, you don't need those guys against the Vikings apparently. But yeah, I think Golden, yes, Quay probably, but that one is more of a toss up for sure.
Yeah, I think we saw how important the move for Micah Parsons was right away in week one. I think you felt it. Even as a Lions fan, you're like, holy shit. And now you're getting him. Now he's playing out of his freaking mind. So now you're getting a better version of that Micah Parsons now, kind of getting acclimated into that Halfley defense. But I guess from your perspective, the biggest matchup on the day is at defensive line for the Packers. I mean, you guys are what, ninth in pass rush win rate, 40%. I mean, you guys are disrupting everybody. And the Lions offensive line before Frank Ragnow, they're still rattled. I mean, they got no Graham tomorrow, no center. They'll probably have Tristan Cologne start, who they just signed it off basically this summer. And then you have Yodi out there, which is just he's a fan favorite, but Dusty's not. Listen, against the Giants, did not play well. So it is an injury-riddled offensive line. And just kind of your opinion, how important is that matchup up front, considering, the Lions offensive line, when they give up a lot of pressure, this offense does not look the same. But how big is that matchup tomorrow on Thanksgiving? Your defensive line, Lions offensive line, injury-riddled.
Yeah. I mean, so my son was not feeling good today. So me and him we were watching some football, and I was like, hey, do you want to watch the condensed Lions Giants with me? Because I didn't catch all that last week.
What a ball knower, by the way.
Oh man. He was all about it. So we watched it, and I was like, brother, watch this interior line. Watch, like, just detonate it. And that's been one of the things. So I will say there's question marks, I think, on the Packers interior line. The outside is, I think, LVN. I think Lucas Van Ness, I think, has already been ruled out. He's not going to play, which stinks. He had injured his foot weeks ago. He got like 6 snaps this past week. And he's a very good, like, pretty good secondary edge rusher he's turned into this year, and he's a good edge setter. Gary is less disciplined in there. He's a better edge rusher, but he's kind of disappeared at times. So the edges I feel all right about. Like, they kind of mix in guys in and out. Bari's had a good season. But the interior there, like, Wooden has played better than I thought he was ever going to play. He's 30-year guy. After last year, I didn't think he had anything. He came in this year, he bulked up. He's been better against the run, but he still will get moved occasionally. Wyatt's been in and out, but like, he's not really a run stuffer. Wyatt isn't. I think he's finally back, 80% healthy, whatever he's at now. But he's a good pass rusher. So I think that interior. I was talking to the Pride of Detroit guys about this. Like, I think the Packers' weaknesses on that side of the ball is not necessarily, I don't think, something that the Lions can take advantage of too much, because they don't have the strongest interior. They can pitch a very good game. We've seen them do that. We've seen Wooden and Wyatt show up. I think Brooks is out, but he's a little undersized. Brinson got some run. Their rookie DT got some run this past week, and he did pretty well, but he's more of a pass rusher. So they're kind of a little undersized, and they don't hold the line that well. If you get interior movement, I don't think the Lions can do that necessarily. And then against pass rush stuff, the interior, man. So you mentioned week one, that was Parsons was on a snap count somewhat because he had the back thing. He hadn't been in town that much. He got traded, like a week before that game or whatever it was. And it was really a lot of like, your defensive end. We're planting your defensive end. They had him roaming a little bit, but not too much. They're doing a ton of stuff with him now, which we kind of thought was going to do. And one of the things they really did against the Vikings that I assume is something they're carrying over to to this Lions game, they'd park him. So Packers started as like a 4-3 defense. And really, as the season's gone on the past few weeks, they've done more 3-4 stuff with like a true nose. And what they've done, they're rushing 4. They got the true nose and 5 or 6 snaps this past week. Parsons is legitimately right behind the nose tackle. Like, you can't see him if you're down like field level, you can't see him behind the nose tackle. And then he'll twist off of one side or the other, and then they'll just detonate the center. Like 5 or 6 snaps. I don't care what else we're doing. We're going to ram that center, collapse the interior of the line, and then we're just going to then we're going to twist inside from there. And they did that 5 or 6 times. And again, that was the Vikings, and JJ McCarthy apparently doesn't know what football is. And so he was a little rattled, but that's also, I know how you can get the Goff a little bit. And that did seem to be a point of emphasis this past week. So having Parsons as a guy who is he's handing the dirt, they'll have him on the outside more often than not. But they do have a package now where he's roaming over just behind the nose tackle, and they're looking to we're going to blow up the center. We're going to cause immediate chaos in the middle of your line. And then we're going to twist into that. And we're just going to see what happens from there. And against a guy like Goff, that feels like that could be that feels like something they're going to pick at quite a bit this game, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. That scares me to hear that. Michael Parsons is doing that, especially with tomorrow with no Graham Glasgow. That's frightening.
Hey, to be fair, even with Graham Glasgow, man.
Yeah.
I'll say it. It's good.
I mean, I wish Frank Ragnow could actually just suit up tomorrow. That'd be just a surprise.
When I saw the news,
field.
I was like, they've been practicing him on the side. He's been getting ready for this. They haven't let anyone know. They've been skirting rules. I was ready to call the league commissioner, all kinds of stuff. I was like, and then I immediately saw like, well, he's not playing tomorrow. I was like, all right, okay, I can calm down.
That would be something if we could have him tomorrow. Dusty, I want to ask you the Packers offense. Can you just give the people here just kind of your thought process on the Packers offense? Now, obviously, week 12, week 13, we haven't seen the Packers offense since week 1. And I know there's probably been some up and downs. We were talking about before you came on here, Jordan Love. I think actually last year we had the conversation with you, just kind of the ups and downs of Jordan Love, to where when he's good, he looks good, but then also he does have like that mellows down a little bit. How has Jordan Love been playing over the last few weeks? And then also, I know obviously some of the weapons, Tucker Kraft and Reed out as well tomorrow. But what does kind of this offense look like right now since week 1?
Man, I want to Reed back so bad. He got injured week 2. He came into the season with an injury and then broke his collarbone in week 2. And so he had well, he's getting surgery. Well, let's get both surgeries. And so they opened his practice window. We're hoping he's back like by next week. It was never thought he was going to be back this week. So like that stinks, but like that doesn't really kill you. Watson's back now, which is good. The Kraft injury hurt them a lot. A couple things have really hurt them. I guess I'll start there. The Kraft injury hurt a lot because they built before the season. It was a whole lot of like, we're going to get him more involved. He's going to be a bigger part of the passing game. And he was. I mean, not just check down stuff. They had stuff designed for him a little bit more. He was their top yak guy. I think when he got injured, he was the number 2 yak guy in the league behind Jamar Chase, if I'm not mistaken. Like just an absolute monster. And then what he unlocked for them in the run game too. He was a good, not perfect, but an above average run blocker, put his head in there. Like was just kind of your typical psychopath tight end that like, I want to hit somebody. And it wasn't always perfect and he didn't always move them, but buddy, he tried. So losing him hurt both run and pass. So that stinks a lot. You get Watson back. The biggest issue so far this year has been offensive line. They lost. Well, it's been in flux a little bit, I guess. Aaron Banks, they signed in the offseason. That was kind of like this is a competent left guard, has not been competent. He has been actively bad. He was injured for some of the season, but he's back now and he's been bad. Elton Jenkins was their starting left guard with the Banks signing that kicked him to center because they lost Josh Myers in the offseason. He was bad, and then he got injured. He was injured and then injured again and then bad. And now injured, he broke his fibula. He's out for the year. So they've kicked Sean Ryan into center, which obviously I think has been an upgrade. I think he's been better than Elton Jenkins there. And they've been messing around a little with the right guard spot. It's been Jordan Morgan, and now then it's Anthony Belton a little bit this past week. And then Tom, who's been not his usual lockdown self at right tackle. He's been dealing with a back injury all season. He injured it early. And so like the line hasn't been great. They want to base on the run game. Like that's if you want to know what this offense is trying to do, they're trying to base everything out of the run, and they beefed up that line this year to try to just get movement with 4 or 5 guys, and they can't. Like they can't create movement. They had an issue with it last year. It's worse this year. They now have a 6 offensive lineman package. They're bringing Darian Kennard in as a 6 offensive lineman to go heavy, and that's given them something over the past couple of weeks. But it's still not like an expansive package. You kind of know what's coming there. As far as Love, like Love's been really good. I don't think the numbers show it in terms of like just raw numbers, the counting stats. But I know his EPA per play, he's second in the league this year behind Drake May. He's like a tenth of a point off of Drake May. And it'd be better than that if not for they had a game, that Giants game they won. You guys know what that's like to eke out a game as the Giants. Yeah. You don't feel great about, but you still take the dub. They had Packers defense, I think, had 4 drop picks. Packers offense had 6 or 7 drop passes, like in the hands drop passes. He's operating at a high level. He'll have one play a game. Where it's just the little Favre devil on his shoulders telling him, you can chuck it, man. Just chuck it. And so if you can survive that, he's fine. He's been running a little more. But the problem with him now, he's run a little more. He doesn't know how to slide. And then he'll take contact. So he took a hit a couple weeks ago, injured his left shoulder. It's sprained AC joint, which is basically separated his shoulder. This past game, he handed off entirely with his right hand. Didn't matter what side the play he was going to. He handed off entirely with his right hand. It's the weirdest thing you've ever seen. He did it in week 1 because he had a broken thumb on his left hand. Now everything's going because he can't really move that left arm. And so he had a couple passes he had 1 dirt, 1 sail this past week. For the most part, like all the issues I had with Love, Most of them were, even coming out last year, was like, listen, he's operating at a high level. He knows what he's supposed to do. He knows the progression. He knows the checks. He's got all that stuff. He's going to have 4 throws a game that you don't know where it's going to go. Deep ball wasn't great, but then also just some of the short and intermediate stuff. He'd leave that stuff on the inside. He doesn't have that problem this year. With the shoulder, we saw a couple of that. And so you may see a couple inaccurate. You may see a couple sprays this week. But for the most part, he's cleaned that stuff up. I think they've given him more control at the line in terms of protection checks, line checks, all of that stuff. They've given him full control of the offense. He looks really comfortable. It's been an explosive offense, and some of that stuff has tapered a little bit. Both Watson back in the fold. They've been working Watson back in. He came back a couple weeks ago. He's been very, very good. They've been using him on short intermediate stuff, and then he's also the game breaker long. And so I think they're at a point where they can't function necessarily as efficiently as they want to. Just, I think Kraft and the offensive line, and Jacobs was injured. I think it looks like Jacobs is going to be back this week as well. It has not allowed them to operate in the way they want to operate. But with Watson back, Dobbs is there. I think Wicks should play this week. He played last week. Hopefully Golden back. Like, you've got some game breakers. They're going to take some shots. Like, they like taking shots. They're not always there, but they're going to take them. So I think as far as Love, I think he's operating very, very well. I think we're going to see some sprays in this game. You're going to see at least one throw that you go, man, we should have picked that. Like, I can guarantee you're going to have one of those. Whether you come down with it or not could decide the game. But I think he's been playing just very good, pretty clean football all year. This is not – it's not the Jordan Love that you kind of have in your mind that it is. He's not just a huck and chucker. It is more kind of short, intermediate stuff. I think he's been tremendous this year.
Dusty, before we get you out of here, let's hear it. Let's hear your final score prediction. Just tell us what you think.
Love it every time.
Packers 45-3. No, I'm so man. I heard you talking right before I came on that you thought it was going to be maybe like a low scoring kind of slug it out affair. I think I can see that to some extent. I do think. I mean, as a Packers fan, I'm terrified of Jahmyr Gibbs. I am scared of Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm not scared of the offensive line opening. I was watching that Giants game. A lot of that was, man, if the Giants made these tackles, he's getting half of that yardage.
Like, yeah, they couldn't tackle him. They were allergic to him.
And the Packers will have that issue occasionally, but they've cleaned that out pretty much this year. I'll take the Packers. I'm going to go, let's give it 24-19. I think the Packers hit. I know the Packers, one of the Packers' bugaboos in the past has been their inability to beat man coverage. Like, they can't beat man coverage, and Love was bad against the blitz. He's shredding the blitz, and they've been great against man coverage. They've got Watson back. I think with Golden in the fold, Wicks have been better in that regard. They've just been better against man than they had been. And so I think unless the Lions change up what they want to do, and I don't necessarily see them doing that. I don't know how you guys feel. I think they'll be able to beat man coverage. I think there's going to be some shots. They're going to take them, and I think whether he hits on those explosives kind of decides this. But I'll go Packers 24-19. I do think it's be like kind of a slugfest for the vast majority of the game. I would be shocked if this is one like we go into the half and it's like 6-3 or something like that at the end of the first half. Like, that wouldn't shock me a bit.
Yeah. We'll see. Hopefully, we just got to hold on. Just hold on until
man.
And that's all they got to do.
I've never been more nervous for a regular season game than tomorrow with Thanksgiving, and it feels like our season's on the line tomorrow. Even though it's probably not fully, but it's man.
Feels like it.
That's the
feeling. Right there with you, man. As long as the Bears just seem like they keep getting lucky, and it's like, listen, at some point you think the Bears are probably going to lose, and they haven't. So like, this is a huge game, man. I'm very excited. I am nervous. I'm very excited about it. It should be a fun one.
Let's do it. Appreciate you, Dusty. As always, you guys can check Dusty out. So you got to keep an eye on the opponent. Add Dusty Evely. He's on X. Dusty, we'll talk to you soon, my friend. Keep up the great work. We appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it, Dusty.
Dusty Evely joining the program, talking to the fellas here. We got the DOC, John
Doc
covers the Detroit Lions for Sports Illustrated.
We will not find the Doc this week because he was not late. We pushed his time back. Yes. So I think we're even. I think it's even. He should have had a fine the last 2 weeks for being late. We had to push it back 15 today because and I'll say this, I love having Dusty on. That's one of my favorite. I know we do a lot of different guests around the NFL for different weeks. And Jeff, you do a good job getting us different writers and reporters. Dusty's one of my favorites of all time. And I loved the guy from Indianapolis, our Colts guy. I think it's our Colts guy. What was his name?
There's so many.
I follow him on Twitter, and I see him all the time tweeting out about Indiana football. He's an Indiana football guy. I really enjoy him as well. But Dusty's probably my favorite around the NFL.
We'll have the DOC on right after we tell you about our friends over at Prestige Worldwide. We'll see you in a minute. I've interrupted the show to tell you about our friends over at Prestige Worldwide Vending. State-of-the-art vape vending machines that can boost sales to any venue, business owners, or anyone that has an establishment that customers are coming in and out of. Prestige Worldwide Vending can help not only attract new customers, but keep customers inside your establishment. Nicotine users that leave to go get nicotine, it'll be right in the place they're at. 32-inch touchscreen, customizable advertisement, which is sweet, by the way. Age verification software to scan IDs confirming age, pre-sale if required. You can pay cash, credit, debit, or mobile. Mobile payments are also accepted, and you get paid when they get paid. It's a win-win. You make your customers happy. You make money on the side. And, of course, working with a company like Prestige Worldwide Vending, who is on the up and up, can only benefit your business. Shout out to them for sponsoring the show. Now let's get back to it. It's time. The DOC joining the program, our good friend Jan Macaroon, like I said, covers the Detroit Lions for Sports Illustrated, host of the Lone Wolves podcast, and has his own YouTube, Detroit Lions on SI, which you could see.
Is it YouTube?
He does. He's
wow.
content. He just got emojis. And now me and Booner are a part of the Detroit Lions on SI YouTube channel officially. Let's bring him on. The DOC, how we doing, Doc?
Oh, am I frozen on here? Look at this.
No, you're
no.
You're back.
Oh,
You're back.
Every time I get to start off frozen, you know what? I'll say this. The reports of the demise of the Detroit Lions, greatly exaggerated, baby. What's going on?
By the way, Easy said by the way, I watched you and Easy today. You guys did a great job. Easy said that you were on him today for being a minute late. Doc, you've been late over a couple minutes, 5 straight weeks for us. You're getting after Easy?
Listen, I'm Middle Eastern. But I don't show up 15 minutes late. We had a time, 15 minutes, 2-3 minutes. I got internet stuff going on. I'm an NFL reporter. You're allowed, and I'm also Middle Eastern.
We all are.
Yeah, but I'm allowed. Listen, you got to give me at least, being Middle Eastern, an 180-second window to hop on, to get all the gadgets going on, and remember what I got to talk about.
All right, you know what? Fair. You get 180 seconds going forward. I don't even know how many minutes that is, to be honest.
It's 3 minutes.
3 minutes. All right, 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Quick
Doc,
math in my head.
Doc, I mean, we got a lot to talk to you about. We got Thanksgiving tomorrow. We got Frank Ragnow unretiring after retiring this offseason. We'll start with the Frank news, Doc. I don't know. Number one, where were you when it happened? And then number two, your reaction to it. Frank Ragnow's back.
Yeah, where was I? Today I was at my office. I was typing the reports about Josh Pascal. I had kind of understood what was going on with all the roster moves. There were so many guys that took place. I wanted to get them done. So it was something where I wanted to get that prepared. And then Christian messaged me. He's like, Frank news, I'm on it. I'm like, what Frank news? I'm like, oh God, make sure it's confirmed. And we triple checked it and we got it out there. But I was excited. I was like, you know what? It's very smart. Now, to me, it was very funny because 2 hours prior, I was talking to my guy, Adam, on the Doc and Jock podcast, and I was joking around. I was like, and I shared it on our Twitter page. I said to Adam, I said, Dan on Friday should just get out there and hunt with Frank Ragnow and beg him to come back. But I had no realistic inclination that no signs, no tells, no thoughts at all that this would happen. So it actually, like everybody's reaction, it was a true surprise. It was awesome. It was a good feeling to at least know that the offensive line is going to have some chance to recover because you guys all saw it. Everybody saw it. Jared Goff, when you're investing $50 million, you want to try and do the best you can. And I'm not going to lie. I really felt like once they started seeing the huge reaction that people were having to the fact that there's no passing air yards, the explosive plays have been bad. The offense is not the same. You're kind of one-dimensional, and you've had multiple games with Jameson Williams getting 0 catches. That's not how it's supposed to work. So this is great news. I'm very excited, but like everybody else, man, can we figure out a way to get him to play tomorrow? But you can't, and you don't have Graham Glasgow or Christian Mahogany. So you got to wait and see what he brings to the table. But like everybody else, something's better than nothing. And I feel like the Lions were quite desperate with that offensive line. And when you're desperate, I don't know who called who, but in the end, the relationship is back on. And the good thing is there's a chance maybe that with the contract that he's under contract this year, next year, maybe if this all works out, maybe you get him for next year too.
Yeah, Doc, can I just ask you, because I know, and you were one of the people kind of at the forefronts of it, I think a couple of weeks ago, just saying, hey, like, you're not winning you're not winning a Super Bowl with this Lions offensive line currently. And obviously Brad did kind of a poor job of building it and getting prepared for this season. And I think you said it I think it might have been 2 weeks ago after the Eagles loss in a post-game show that you had brought up and just said, like, hey man, like, maybe this Lions front office wanted to punt this year, knowing they didn't have an offensive line good enough. Do you think with Frank back, because Jeff and I had the conversation when this came along at the start of the show, where we feel like Frank's obviously it's not like he retired at a bad part of his game. He was the second best center in the NFL last year, second team All-Pro. So adding a second team All-Pro, a top 5 center, changes this offensive line. Do you think this is back to where it's like, hey, this is a contending team? Another, you have a top 10 offensive line now all of a sudden, and Frank kind of makes that big of a difference moving forward when he does return?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, man, first and foremost, it's clear. Listen, the way in which now we look at the trade deadline is a little bit different. I still would have looked at a defender. Most people wanted Jalen Phillips. But look, if that talk was happening, you were hoping, you still got to see what the guy brings to the table. He was off for 6 months. So it's a great move. It's, I think, an upgrade over what you have. But we still got to see what level of fitness he's going to have, what kind of, if you're going to throw him in there against the Rams, that's a tough first game back. The Rams defensive line is no joke. So I'm excited that at least you have the more hope that they can get to the postseason and have success. The Super Bowl is a big dream, and you got to be firing on all cylinders. You got to have a lot of luck, and there's a chance based on how everything's been going. You're going to face the Packers team a little bit depleted. You got to go up against a Cowboys team that are gung-ho. I mean, you think they're going to be happy that you curb stomped them in Dallas? They're going to come here and, that team is playing pretty well. So you got to get to the Rams winning at least one of these next 2 games. So I'm a little bit concerned still about how the offense is going to look with the reserves now coming in the offensive line. Coyote Awosika, it's going to be interesting to see how he rebounds after a tough game. I'm looking at it like at least you have some opportunity to get this offense going. It wasn't feasible that the Lions were going to run the offense that they had last year without Frank Ragnow. Now that you have him, first and foremost, the first thing is that Jared Goff can start looking like a little bit more like Jared Goff. Otherwise, you're going to have idiots like me talking about Shedeur Sanders, bringing up other names, just speculating about stuff that we really shouldn't be speculating about, because Jared Goff, when it's bad, it's bad. And listen, I know people don't like the phrase, it's got to be perfect for him. You need a functioning offensive line for Jared Goff. And that offensive line wasn't functioning. And I'm just thankful that when you talk, you guys do it and we do it. When you talk about something that you're concerned about and everybody knows it and everybody knows the root cause of it, you can't hide from it. You had to do something. And if that was always an option, that's great. It's a great, great thing that the relationship was still open, that he can come back and somewhat contribute. But it just kind of stinks because it just feels like the timing of everything has, and like I told you guys in the preseason, it just feels like the timing was all misaligned with the draft picks that Brad got, some of the projects that he took. Now you have a guy like Frank Ragnow, maybe Taylor Decker, their futures are up in the air. So I always wanted it to be pinpointed where everything would be a little bit more smoother this year and next year, but it's the NFL. Things were a little bit disjointed, but I do think that first and foremost, you don't want Jared Goff taking all those pressures and hits and all the struggles that they had, and it wasn't good. And I truly wonder if they felt like Tate Ratledge could have hopped in and just had a seamless transition, or they felt like Graham Glasgow would be better than he was. But we all said it like, man, Graham has limitations. And the last game that we saw prior to the year was against Washington. It wasn't that good, but they tried it. And I think that once Dan saw the film of what the heck happened against the Eagles and against the Vikings and against what happened last week, where you're like, my goodness, man, there's just too much that makes this offense doesn't, produce in a way that everyone's happy with. They were open and willing to accept Frank Ragnow coming back, which is good, because I do think that, which is crazy, because I can share, Dan is going to do a media session on Saturday. And one of my questions was going to be, listen, based on how the offensive line played tomorrow, was going to be, hey, do you got to like shuffle this offensive line? Like, I know you keep saying you need to make corrections. I was going to ask him directly, like, do you need to take some guys out of the lineup to make things go better? And thankfully, maybe I don't have to ask that.
I brought up on Twitter, at least, that I think this not only impacts Tate Ratledge or, whoever's on the other side of Frank, but also the run game. What do you think this means for a guy like David Montgomery, Doc, who's, kind of had up and down games? The usage has been questioned. You asked Dan Campbell about him, and he just said, "Oh, of course I'd like to get Demon more carries." As soon as he responded right to you, Doc. What do you think this means for a guy like David Montgomery, who's kind of an in-between the offensive line runner, in between the tackles guy, and now you have one of the best centers coming back? What do you think it means for a player like him, and just the run game in general, to be honest with you?
You know what's actually funny? The more I think about it, based on the game that Jahmyr Gibbs had, Dan's probably thinking, and he can't say it, he probably really wanted to say the truth. The truth was probably, listen, mofo, we got Jahmyr Gibbs. Don't you see what you got in Jahmyr Gibbs? He's like, don't you see our offensive line? We got a Ferrari. Like, I know, David, you guys all love David, and we can do. And I did say in the question, could you have used them better in short yardage situations? So I was clear, crystal clear, that I wanted him used on specific downs. So maybe I'm too specific. Maybe it's one of those deals where he's like, listen, man, you're kind of getting into some stuff that you shouldn't be asking about in terms of game plan or critiquing me on specific plays. But I don't care. At this point in time, you ask reasonable questions that the fans want to know, and they want to know about David Montgomery. But when it's tough to argue for David Montgomery when Jahmyr Gibbs goes for over 200 yards of all-purpose yards. But in certain spots, I feel like David Montgomery has now become the forgotten guy because Jahmyr Gibbs is so awesome and so explosive, but you still can use David Montgomery in certain situations. And maybe Frank Ragnow coming back will unlock a little bit more of his potential. And I think everybody's happy. Look, it was one of those questions where I was always of the opinion when we said to John Morton at the combine, we said, you got a lot of mouths to feed. And they're like, it's a good problem to have. I don't know if it's a good problem to have. I think that there's a talent in David Montgomery that you're not being able to utilize in terms of maybe getting to second down and shorter by giving him the ball. I think you can get to third down and 2 or 3 if you give it to David Montgomery, let him power through. But, it was too inconsistent. The offensive line was the engine of the operation. And I think one of the biggest issues was Jared Goff, but the other byproduct was David Montgomery fell by the wayside. Not a lot of, he's getting, Jahmyr Gibbs is earning twice as many targets and carries as David Montgomery, and they want to use Jahmyr Gibbs more in the passing game. There was a quote Dan said. He's like, it's tough to not give the ball to Jahmyr Gibbs. Look what he can do on every given play. And I realized, man, you're right. Probably he's like, man, we got a Ferrari and we're about to use him and make some plays. And this guy's asking about the number 2 guy. So listen, in the end, it's all about finding ways to make the offense more efficient, look a little smoother, run better on third down, and look a little more explosive. You're never going to have all those things happen at once, but I do think that David Montgomery still should be a factor in this offense and maybe even utilized in short yardage situations to get those first downs and to keep him involved in the game, maybe earlier in the game. But listen, man, it's hard to argue. Jahmyr Gibbs, 2-time NFC Offensive Player of the Week. This last game was spectacular. What's good, at least in these situations, is when you go up against an opponent like the Giants, whose clear weakness was run defense, and then you just hammer it down their throat. It was great to see, especially in overtime.
Yeah, well, you asked about Micah Parsons, Doc. He gave you a 3-word answer for that one too. What the hell's going on with you and Dan? You got a little, what's going on?
Yeah, we got to figure this out. You got to figure this out.
The people are wondering. He said he's a good player. I like our tackles.
He's a good player.
Probably could have gave you a little more there.
Can you ask just straight up, just say, do you hate me? Like, what's going on here? Can we just be honest?
Listen. Okay. I always go back and forth and go, okay, is it personal? No, listen, first and foremost, Dan at this point in time is hard to assess because he ain't sleeping. He came into that presser at least drinking 2 coffees and maybe was feeling the effects. Now, I did get a chance to listen. He was also asked about Micah Parsons by Danny Rogers on the film review.
Gave her a detailed answer.
It was detailed on film, but it was more like, he keeps coming. He's got a lot of energy. He gave the football knowledge. He's got the film there. I also sensed that he didn't want to give any, credence to any type of motivational type things that he could say that Micah could use. He was just kind of keeping it like, we know he's a great player. It's
come on, Doc.
Listen, he could have, and I know it is funny when you juxtapose.
It's like 4 straight times now.
Yeah, when you juxtapose that with he gives me that answer, and then everybody else, he's even a question later at the end. One of the last questions was, why is your defense giving up so many explosive plays? And he thought about it, gave it thought. Listen, in the end, I thought about it. I was like, okay, when he lost to the Eagles, I said the Super Bowl window is closed. Question Jameson Williams. When you give a lot of opinions, who knows what gets sent his way from what I say. I also do a rugged podcast on Thursday. We say a lot of off the walls things. We cuss. We just say whatever's in our head without a lot of thought. So something could have came across his desk. He didn't like. He doesn't maybe like the headlines that I choose. Maybe the Jameson Williams talking about Mike Valenti. He didn't like that. I don't know. But whatever, in the end, I always view it like, if he liked me, I'm doing my job wrong. I look at it like, if I'm going to be the guy that's known for something, being known for, being the one guy that Dan Campbell hates is pretty unique, because genuinely speaking, the questions aren't that difficult. And I'm pretty sure he came across a headline that was a little spicy that he didn't want to read, but oh, well.
We'll find out. I mean, let's just keep seeing it. We'll keep an eye on this. And I think we're at like 4 straight times that this coaching staff has given you close to nothing. So on Saturday, Saturday, we're going to find out.
I will ask your advice, because I thought about this. Listen, I don't need all his words to fill the copy. I have a lot of things I could say and type. Should I, if he keeps doing it, should I stop asking questions so that others can get useful information?
I love it. You keep asking.
Or my thinking is, I'm just going to start asking more elaborate questions that maybe he's going to have to be forced to answer. I don't know how it plays out, but it is unique because, yes, he is giving a lot of longer answers to others. But in the end, remember this way, truly, from how I always read it, journalism is asking and printing what they don't want printed. So I'm asking him questions he doesn't want to answer. And the more that I do it over 5 years, it's going to get annoying. And especially in this year, when it's the most pressing year, that this is the most challenging year he's had. I mean, he had to go out and get a retired guy to fix a problem his general manager should have fixed.
That's fair. Can I ask you, with this whole Frank Ragnow thing, I want to ask you, because you've talked about it a lot already. One thing that I think another angle, I mean, we could take 6, 7 different angles on this. I did not mean to do that, by the way. I did not mean to say 6, 7. That just happened. Yeah. That's just rattled me. I did not mean to say that. It just rattled me. All right. Jared Goff, though, because I actually saw some national media today, a couple people on Twitter tweet out and just be like, well, Jared Goff's just been bad. It has nothing to do with the offensive line. He's just missing throws, which I disagree with. I think it has to do, obviously, everyone knows the timing of everything and him having more time. What do you think this means for Jared Goff? You've been around Jared Goff before. You had, conversations with him. For a guy like him, he's got to be pretty excited that a guy like Frank's coming back, correct, Doc? This might change everything and give him more time to throw, to where he's able to have better games, and maybe fans will get off of him a little bit when it comes to making some of those throws.
Yeah, push the ball downfield, Doc.
Yeah, maybe. Throw the ball down the field,
maybe.
Right?
Which he can't, because he doesn't have enough time to. Now he's going to have time.
He doesn't have enough time to, and the defenses have figured out, ways in which to take that away. And the Packers are going to do the same kind of thing. You bracket JMO, you give him extra attention, safety help over the top. It's kind of relatively a straightforward answer, which is don't let guys get behind you. And so that's how defenses have been playing the Lions. But when you have Jahmyr Gibbs, it should open things up. So I'm excited for this Packers game. Look, Jared Goff, we all know it. And it's not disrespectful. Most quarterbacks are going to need a functioning offensive line. Graham Glasgow was really uniquely in his stats, was really great in terms of the run game and his run defense and his run blocking, but really porous against pass rush. It was wild just how opposite it was. And it's unfortunate. Tate Ratledge up and down, and Coyote Awosika just had a real bad game against the Giants. So now that you get Frank Ragnow back, at least the first thing you're going to realize is, okay, he's going to be comfortable. There'll be no issues with protection. Frank Ragnow will see quickly where the offensive line needs to go in terms of the strength of where to direct people. I'm excited about that. When you look on film with the offensive line, you just see it's true. One guy will miss one spot here. Another guy will have take a responsibility he's not supposed to do, or quite frankly, here's the tough part is that against some of these stout defensive lines, they just get out physical. They're just not as stout as the opponents. And that's why these defensive lines have a lot of, these guys get paid a lot of money to be bulls out there. It's not easy to block an opposing, 280 pound to 350 pound athletic defensive lineman. It's a wild job to have. So it's a crazy in the trenches, man. That's why the game is won in the trenches. Jared Goff needs time. He needs to be able to, the reason why it's clear on film, it's not because they're not trying to get Tesla the ball. He can't get to the third read because he's already on his ass. So he can't get the ball to Tesla to see if he's open because the first, second reads, his time to throw has been diminished. So you didn't need all the advanced analytics to know that once Frank Ragnow left, the offensive line was never the same. And the offense, and I think, like I said, it might be my favorite question in my 5 years there is like, could you have run last year's offense? Is it feasible? They're trying to get as close to it as possible. And bringing Frank Ragnow back is going to at least give Jared Goff some comfort that, hey, maybe in the end we'll find out that Jared called him, was like, listen, man, I need you. I'm dying out here. I need you bad. Like, I can't run this offense. And I think the combination of them keeping tabs on Frank Ragnow, Jared and Dan and Brad all talking, making sure like, hey, we need this guy. And thankfully that the bridge and the line of communication was open. And thankfully too, that whoever made the hunting schedule allowed it to end around these times where he's like, all right, I got my fix. I had my time off. Let's come back. It's really, really cool to see. And it's true. I was joking about Dan calling him on Friday. The deadline was today. I didn't even know that. I didn't even know. I wasn't paying. I thought it was so far off the radar that I didn't even consider it to be realistic that he'd want to do it. Like once you get hunting and enjoying that lifestyle, the retired life is nice, when you have all the means and your body intact. But, to me, in my humble opinion, Frank is a true loyal friend and he sees his guys struggling. He sees the team. You got to feel a strong sense of guilt that guys like Jared Goff, Taylor Decker, Penei Sewell are not able to meet their goals because you're not there. And when you're feeling relatively good, 6 months off of football makes you feel great. I just hope that when he comes back that you get at least a 80 to 90% of the old Frank to help this out. So Jared Goff has to listen, guys, you guys know it. We all saw it. Jared Goff just last year was spectacular. So you give him help, he can do it. The question mark is going to be against amazing defensive lines. Can he make the reads and throw the ball and take those chances and fit the ball in those tight windows? That'll be the key. And at least you're closer to success now with Frank Ragnow than you ever were when he was gone. So I'm excited because, we want to unlock Jared Goff. We want the old Goff back. Idiots like me are talking about Shedeur Sanders already.
By the way, I just Shedeur Sanders and shout out to Kirk. Was that former Packers quarterback? I think who brought that up. Shedeur Sanders
Packers
live in this offense.
Yeah, and I'll share my thoughts on that too because it was funny because people didn't understand the whole story or what I was saying.
Yeah,
I'll share it. Yeah, it was simple.
Explain.
Guys, it's simple. It's a simple thing. People are like, what was that about? No, I was not advocating to bring Shedeur Sanders here. Clearly, when I write they tell me at SI, like, you don't really need to put fact or fiction, but I'm like, yes, I do, because people don't understand what that means. What it means is somebody said something, let me talk about it. That's all it was. And somebody said, hey, I think he said it out loud and they publicized it. I think that Shedeur would fit with the Lions. And I said, let's talk about it. So if you just go beyond your visceral, that is nonsense, and you read the article, I told you why the answer is fiction. It's never going to happen. But my job is to enjoy the conversation. But you get a couple people that are like, this is ridiculous. This is clickbait. This is nonsense. But it's like, no, it's something that was talked about. And I addressed why it will never happen. Now, the odds of it happening are quite long and maybe doesn't need to be talked about. But the blessing of me being able to write whatever the heck I want is that I saw that and I've always gone with the same thing like I do here. If it's interesting and I go and I look at it and I go, ooh, I write it. Simple as that. I don't have no filter. I don't care if 1,000 people hate it. You know, people read that story and commented on it on all these different platforms. It was awesome. It was a good story. It was a good debate. And people that read it, I saw how many people actually stayed on it. Those that read it understood it. That Goff, guys, the reason why you want this offensive line to shine is you're going to be married to Jared Goff for the next 4 or 5 years. It's going to happen. I'm sorry. Get ready. This is Goff's team. And if you want to know more details, read Fact or Fiction. Is Shedeur Sanders auditioning for the Detroit Lions? And listen, thank you, Kay Adams. You did wonders with the cookies reply to my site. And you also did wonders by having a guest say something like that. I was like, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful conversation.
Well, Doc, I want to ask you about the injury report that kind of came out. No Graham Glasgow. You already don't have Christian Mahogany. Offensive line is going to be a little different. It's going to look a lot different tomorrow until Frank gets back. But in your mind, can you kind of expand on just the timeline of a couple guys, like with Graham, Kirby, Josh Paschal? What happened with that? Just some of the guys that are out, and when do you expect them to return? And then Marcus Davenport being back. Can you just kind of give your thoughts on the injury report today?
Yeah, well, the biggest question, I don't even know how to phrase it because it's just, they didn't do it. I wonder why they didn't put Kirby on IR. Like, did they just hope and hope and hope? There's no, we saw him running, which is a good sign. I would think that maybe with another week of full time, that maybe next week he could start practicing, but nothing official yet. Josh Paschal is unfortunate. He's going to, unfortunately, in my mind, probably not ever suit up again for the Lions. I don't know how you could sell to this fan base that a guy that has not played a full season in his entire rookie career is going to be somebody you're going to continue to invest in. Maybe they do and surprise me based on a contract. I mean, they gave Levi another contract, so I wouldn't be, I would be a little bit surprised if they brought one or both back. I just think that availability is the best skill. And for Josh Paschal, listen, those back injuries are tough. They give you 3 weeks to try and showcase what you're about. And with Tyleik Williams, Ali McNeil playing well, and having Marcus Davenport back, they feel like with Mekhi Wingo that, even though he can't get on the field, that Josh Paschal was not activated enough to the point where the coaches felt like he could be productive. So he's out for the year. So that's, another pick that you could kind of look at and say, man, Brad, you missed on a couple picks early in your tenure that maybe could have been a little bit more successful. I am concerned about the Graham Glasgow injury in regards to at least this week. You need him. He's a player that, at least in one aspect of the game, is a veteran option. When you lose linemen, it's never a good thing. But maybe Tristan Colon might show them something that can benefit the team in pass protection, because it was just really rough. I'm curious to see when Graham Glasgow does come back, does he still have a spot? Because Miles Frazier has been activated, so that's good news. Do you throw him out there at left guard and stick with Cologne? This is like a great opportunity for Cologne. If you want to take someone's job, before Frank Ragnow comes back, earn an opportunity. You could be back next week, and maybe the team will. Listen, it's not going to be a end-all be-all answer, but I think Miles Frazier has a chance to get in to the game against the Cowboys at home. We'll see if there's opportunities. Now, Marcus Davenport is always a tough thing to talk about because we don't know how long he physically is going to hold up. We always see him. He works his way back. And if you give anything out of it, the best way to look at it is if you get anything out of Marcus Davenport, that's a bonus. But the big question mark for Kirby Joseph is, Dan said that it's to the point where they're kind of evaluating it. The biggest concern is they don't want him in and out of the lineup. They want to make sure that it's to the point where if he starts playing, he can stay in the lineup. But I'm not so certain that this year he's going to have any significant decrease in the pain in his knee. That's kind of how Dan said it. Was they had thought that the irritation would go down. It didn't. So it's going to be interesting to see when he starts practicing what's going on. And you need that guy healthy, because it's also affecting Brian Branch. Thomas Harper's done a good job, but he's not Kirby Joseph. And I do want to see the top safety unit back in the league. It stinks too. Brock Wright's out. Khalif Raymond might open the door for Isaac Tesla. So we'll see how that happens. But, and also too, in regard to Jared Goff, when you read his press clippings, if you listen to his answers, he tries to fly through those answers. And I'm telling you, typically when I write everything a player says, it's usually over 1,200 words. Jared Goff is regularly like 600 to 700 words, and it's super easy to write. So he flies through those answers. I asked him about Brock Wright, and I said, what's your relationship like with him? And he's like, oh, he's great. He's a good ass. Like, doesn't give a whole heck of a lot. And he does so many interviews that he tries to fly through them and to a point where you're like, man, I wish he was a little bit more elaborate on some things. But it's all good with Jared Goff and with everybody going on. It's the injuries. It's like you miss some here, but you're getting some guys back. And Frazier and I'm curious to see if maybe Mr. Tom Kennedy maybe does something in special teams. And the one thing that I would think is that you got Eric Hallett back. I would think that Craig Reynolds, who got waived today, I think has an opportunity to also, if he clears waivers, I think pay attention. I think the Lions are going to want him to stay on the practice squad.
Yeah, Doc, I do want to ask you, just going into tomorrow's game, I want to get your confidence level on this defense. I know 2 weeks ago versus the Eagles, they looked good, but then last week versus Jameis Winston, the Giants, it was kind of a different story where Jameis, almost threw for 300 plus or 400 yards. I don't even know what it was. I think it was like I don't know the exact number, but it was an insane amount. What's your confidence level in this defense, especially tomorrow versus a guy like Jordan Love?
Yeah, the game tomorrow, man, I'm panicking because I think, listen, first and foremost, we have to, when we evaluate this game, remember, these guys are on short rest. They just played Sunday, and now they're going to turn around and play Thursday. This is going to be, I think, a battle of attrition. I do think it's going to be a close contest, but I feel like the Lions have more offensive weapons to score points than the Packers do, and they're a little bit healthier than the Packers. The big key is going to be on offense, making sure that the Packers defensive line doesn't repeat what they did in week 1, and that you have a lot better communication with your offensive line. Micah Parsons cannot take control of this game. He cannot be wrecking plays. Look, the defense was now starting to be talked about as the strength of the team. And you get DJ Reed back. He's a little bit rusty, and that performance was not good. Listen, Coach Kafka from the Giants let it all hang out, ran trick plays. He caught the Lions off guard in a lot of spots, and there were a lot of missed tackles, a lot of mistakes that were made. It was wild to see the defense get torched like that. But Jameis is a veteran, and also, too, he knows some tendencies of Dan Campbell, and he can speak to some things to the coaching staff. So you got to give credit to Jameis Winston for being a true pro and what they were able to do. First and foremost, you can't give up that many explosive plays. That was atrocious. That was like everybody was sitting there going, wow, what the heck's going on with all these chunk plays that the offense that the defense was allowing. But first and foremost, what everybody sees, which I think upset everybody. Everybody saw it. You're not getting pressure from the front four. You didn't get pressure. Aiden had, let's just say, because there was a massive debate, which I enjoyed for 48 hours, he had an okay game. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't spectacular, but it wasn't good enough to allow and disrupt Jameis Winston from having all those throwing, all the time to throw and finding all his receivers and all the places he was able to make. So your defensive line is not doing enough from that perspective. And remember, a sack is a great play because you also lose a bunch of yards. So hits and pressures are nice, but you can get a pressure where a guy steps up in the pocket after 5 seconds and throws the ball. You still get a pressure. You want to look at a little bit more of an advanced metric, like effective pressures that cause, negative plays. And so for the Detroit Lions, it can be better. And I get it. That's why I love Detroit, is they're like, and they think with their heart. They're like, if we're going to pay a guy $50 million, he better be at 18 sacks like Myles Garrett. It's unrealistic, but I love it. I love that mindset, which is, hey, we're paying you like you're the best. And so act like the best, but he's not. And so that's why, guys like me, Hefe, Booner, were like, hey, guys, if Aiden has 8.5, 9 sacks now, imagine if the guy opposite of him was a little more disruptive. He might have 15 sacks by now. So that's why everybody said, hey, what about a Danielle Hunter? What about, hey, you saw Houston. They look pretty good against the Bills with 2 defensive ends. What do you know? Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter making it look real miserable for the Buffalo Bills. What do you know? It's nice when you can pressure the quarterback. And so, quite frankly, the diagnosis for the Giants game was you had not enough pressure. You didn't win the battles. And listen, I tweeted as it happened. Alim McNeil had a nice forceful push at the end of the game, but he had some reps against Andrew Thomas where when Andrew's watching with his boys, he had to laugh. There had to be a 60, 70-pound mismatch, and Andrew Thomas barely had to do any work to evade Alim McNeil. I tweeted live. I'm like, wow, from way up here, I could see the mismatch that Andrew Thomas could easily block Alim McNeil. But you want him out there, and you're not gonna, they weren't expecting them at that time on those plays to rush the passer, but seeing it live when you watch the film, it's kind of funny to see that Andrew Thomas was matching up against a guy 65 to 70 pounds lighter than him and trying to go out there. So I know they want to get Ellie McNeil out there a little bit more on the edge, but that matchup was kind of funny. You got to figure out ways to get the pass rush, and thankfully, at least you have a guy in Marcus Davenport. The 20 plays that he's healthy before something else happens. Let's see what he can bring to the table, because I truly believe if he's healthy, if he can stay out there, if he can avoid the freak injuries, maybe you unlock Aiden Hutchinson with that one addition. The defensive end at the deadline is Marcus Davenport. Let's just see. Let's just maybe do something. If all of you are out there when you're eating your turkey tomorrow, just say, hey, can the guys coming back stay healthy for the push? Because if they stay healthy, then maybe they can unlock some of the things we are all asking for.
Yeah, people don't. I mean, that defensive line conversation. I got a video coming out on Friday on our YouTube, which everyone in the chat should go watch. It's a deep dive into this D-line, Doc, and everything you said is true. There's a lot of data that backs up, like, the sacks argument isn't the end-all be-all. They're 8th in the league in sacks. They were 5th. Now they dropped a little bit, but that doesn't tell the full story. Jameis Winston had the most time to throw last week. So I suggest people go check out that video on Friday, and you'll find out more context with it. But I want to ask you, just over the next 6 games, Doc, we kind of talked about at the beginning of the show how important it is for the Lions just to hold on with Frank Ragnow coming back. I mean, you go 3-3 over the next 6 games, Doc. You're in a tough spot here. I mean, you could be 10-7. So what's the next 6 games look like to you? Just some of the matchups maybe you're excited for, concerned about. How do you think the next 6 games plays out? And what's your confidence level? I think they have to go 11-6 just to try and lock it in. And that's you got to go. I mean, you got to go 4-2 here over the next 6. But what do you think of the rest of the season, the schedule?
Yeah, this game right here and the next one is super important. You get this W, you still have a chance for the division. I love our chances at home, at least to advance. You don't win this game, now you're 0-2 against the Packers. Now you're potentially going to have to go out on the road. Do you want to go out on the road against the Packers in the playoffs and then have to maybe face the Rams or the Eagles? You're talking about, when Dan said the hard road, it could be the hard road in the playoffs to try and get to the Super Bowl. So it's very imperative that you win this game. These next 2 games, you got to go 1-1. And I do think they'll step up for the Rams game. It'll be ultra competitive. And then you got the Steelers and then the Vikings and then the Bears. So I look at it and I say, the next 6 games, you got set. You at least got to get, you're absolutely right. 4-2 would be ideal to get to 11. It's going to be tough, and it starts with the Packers. It's really tough to lose Graham Glasgow and to lose Kirby Joseph again. And so it's going to be, I think this game is going to be back and forth because it's equally as important. Both teams on a grind. I look at it like the Cowboys game could be wild. Everybody thinks that the Lions own the Cowboys, but they're coming in playing pretty well. They have explosive plays. They got Dak Prescott, who's been up and down. It really is going to depend on the Cowboys and how they, they're just a team that their defense is so up and down that the game could really turn out to be, which is so crazy. It could be a game in the 40s, or it could be so tight defensively. It could be a dud and be like a 10-7 kind of game. That's how the variance of the way in which both these teams play. I'm hoping for a wild game with the Cowboys and at least some entertainment value. But listen, if you realize you're not at this point in the season, you're not in the class of the Rams. The Rams are complete, and Matthew Stafford is playing at an MVP caliber level. So let's just be realistic and throw that out as a loss. The rest of the way, you're in most of these games. You should, there might be a letdown here or there, but you have an opportunity, I think. If you can get this Packers win, I think that'll give this team confidence that maybe you only lose 1 or 2 more the rest of the way. And so if you end up being 11-6, that puts you in a prime position. And I do think that Bears game is going to be wild. I do kind of hope personally that it's for some stakes, because I think the narratives will be great, and Ben Johnson getting this team to learn how to win is crazy. But I think that this Packers game is going to really kind of show some things. If you lose it, and you lose it in a way that's disheartening or mistakes, or, they come back, then it's going to be tough. I think that you're going to really, you don't want it so that you're 0-2 going with Frank Ragnow returning. That's a lot of pressure on one guy to come back. So you're absolutely right. Start with the Packers, get there. If they win against the Packers, there will be some momentum built. And at least, listen, the part that we all should be thankful is that they had the last game at home, and this game and the next one is at home too. It'll give you an opportunity to compete. And guys, it's really that close. It's that razor thin where just one bounce of the football, one turnover, one key mistake could result in these games for the Detroit Lions ending up on the wrong side. So just hope that they execute. In this game, though, I just feel like the Lions have more weapons where it'll be back and forth. But late in the game, I just see it like the Packers having like a 24-21 lead, 20. I have it. So Lions trailing 23-21 with a couple minutes left, and they move the ball down the field and kick a game winner to make it 24-23. I feel like it's going to be in that 1 point category. And just be real close. But I think you got enough weapons. St. Brown's going to want to continue to kind of showcase that, hey, these drops are an anomaly and I'm feeling better. And also, too, I just think this one, if you're asking me, without a tight end, without, with knowing what the Packers are going to try to do to stop Gibbs, they clearly know what he can do. Guys, it's JMO time. He got the aura from the doc. We talked about things, we got the things we didn't talk to it was weird because when I went up to talk to him, the media was just kind of trailing me. So I was one of the first people there, and there was like they're like, okay, fire away. And you don't want to wait because you only have so much time. So I just fired off. Hey, how do you feel about playing on Thanksgiving? And luckily everybody came in and joined in. But it was funny. Everyone was messaging me like, was he on something? I was like, I wasn't paying attention, because that's how he always is. That's how a lot of players talk to me. They just kind of take their time, measure their words so that I don't pick out a part that there's going to be a headline. So that's how he always talks. But I figured, you know what? Let's just also talk about something not football related. And I thought the question I asked him about basketball was fun. And listen, that's just how it goes. When there's so many people, I can share when there's scrums, the athletes kind of are really tight-lipped. You can talk to these players a little bit more one-on-one. You get a lot more information. And a lot of the players, guys, do like talking to me one-on-one. And a lot of players will give me fist bumps. And I talked to Terry on a little bit. And I actually, the locker room does not dislike me, but they also realize the job at hand. And I think that with what goes on, they understand what the deal is that I have things I want to ask about, and I'm not shy to ask it.
Doc, before we get to mailbag, there is a question I wanted to ask you. Booner and me, we had this discussion about Jordan Love and these receivers. And I don't want to throw out the concern word all the time, because it's not like these receivers are world beaters, and Jordan Love's not a world beater, but he's better than Jameis Winston. And the defense last week gave up some plays. Is there what's the confidence level in your mind that the defense fixes all those issues from last week, and we don't allow Christian Watson to make these plays, or Romeo Doubs or Jordan Love to just pick apart the Lions? Like, what's your kind of take on this, the defense bouncing back and facing a quarterback like Jordan Love?
Yeah, it's all starts with this. Yeah. Amik Robertson, DJ Reed, got to get after it. And I'm excited about the potential now, seeing that Terry Arnold's questionable. I pretty much would lend to me to believe that he's going to be out there. So we'll see what he brings to the table. So look, that defense, I'm sure. The tough part is, though, is that they didn't practice. They just didn't practice. They're all mental. It's walkthroughs. So they kind of know what goes on. It's going to be a battle of attrition. There's going to be big plays made. The matchups kind of favor the what would you call it? The Packers passing attack has a little bit of an advantage. So you just got to find ways to get those turnovers. That's the key. It's just, you're going to have to, this game, I would say, maybe the defensive line, you got to call them out a little bit and say, step up, get some pressure. Yeah. If you leave, listen, it's straightforward football. If you leave Jordan Love to have 3-4 seconds in the pocket, he's going to pick you apart, and you're going to be devastated. So if you get pressure, I think that, hopefully, the likes of Aiden Hutchinson can maybe have a little bit more of a say in this contest. You get a little bit of pressure from the linebackers. They will step up a little bit more. Maybe Brian Branch will be a factor in this game. So yeah, absolutely. They're going to rebound, but the Packers are going to make plays. They're just as desperate. And from what I'm hearing from the Packers reporters, that, they've been asking LaFleur questions about his job security. So, but if you want to do the way that my fellow colleagues in the media do, the last couple times that Jordan Love has stepped foot in Ford Field, he's had some success, and he's left Ford Field with some victories. So we want to change that and turn that around and make sure that he doesn't. Let's get that 0 interception tally in the last couple games at Ford Field into a 1 or 2. There'll be no problem. So what is it? I think I read 2-0 at Ford Field the last couple, no interceptions, 5 touchdowns. So let's turn those stats around and let's get the defense purring and Ford Field humming, because man, the fans, you call me mean. Y'all, I was quiet. I was sitting there typing at Ford Field. I was telling y'all on Twitter, guys, it's the Giants. Come on, they're ass. They're going to listen. I know it's bad. It's the Giants. Y'all were out there booing loudly in my ear that I could hear through the headphones. Typically, I don't hear the fans too much because I'm listening to Dan Miller and typing and doing my work. I'm in my own la-la land. And y'all were booing loud that I was like, damn, y'all are booing. But I got it. I understood it. I respected it. Yeah. The offense was against the Giants was and seeing all those moon balls land, everyone was like, we are not happy. And thankfully the Lions did something to bring some cheers out.
All right, Doc, we'll get to our first mailbag question here from Jesse. Ask Doc, if I told you this team goes 2-1 the next 3 with one of the wins in Green Bay, would you take that deal? Second, is the Kirby situation like a Laporta thing?
Yeah, no, it's tough because you would think that they would put him on IR with Kirby, but you saw the video of him running. I just think that you listen to what Dan Campbell said directly. They want it so that, they felt like the work that they would do would bring down the pain in his knee and the irritation. It just didn't. And so there's a certain level of, they don't want it to be where he's in and out of the lineup when they bring him back. They want him like, when you're ready to go, they want the doctors to tell Dan, listen, he's not going to further injure it. He's going to have to deal with some pain, but he can stay in the lineup. And after a 60-minute game, he'll be able to go back. So whenever that is, I don't feel like it's a Laporta situation. Backs is something you don't mess with. And once I think people were starting to hear it was a back injury, then they knew it was something a little bit more significant. Kirby has been physical and is out there still around the team. So we'll see. If you 2-1, yeah, you take it. I take it all day. I do think that I look at it from the perspective of, if you can beat the Packers and the Cowboys and you lose to the Rams, it's a good opportunity to get into that final stretch.
And then we have a question here from Dana, says, are we automatic contenders with Frank's return? To you, Doc.
Yeah, guys, too, it's just one of those deals when you look at it, the Seahawks are, Smith and Jigba is just out of this world successful. That's kind of what I'm jealous. Like, I drafted him in a lot of fantasy leagues based on the recommendation of my nephew. And I thought that that's kind of the production that we would see with J-Mo. And I do think that at the very least, if you can get J-Mo a little bit more involved, some more time, it makes it so that Jared Goff has a better chance to be the leader of this offense. It does not make them contenders, guys. Just at this very moment, when you look at it, the Rams are playing complete football. They run the ball well. They stop the run. Matthew Stafford is, hate to say it, being my previous relationship with him, but he's playing we couldn't get this guy. We couldn't get this guy in Detroit. No, he had to go leave and mature somewhere else and run an offense that was more elaborate there. And Puka Nacua and Devontae. Oh, what do you know? Going out and adding a veteran receiver that can ball with a veteran quarterback, maybe is a little bit better than a draft pick. What do you know? But that's going to be a tough task in the playoffs, man. The Rams are playing well, and going out to LA, that's going to be fun. That's going to be a fun matchup. I can't wait to sit and see and analyze them. But just look at Jared Verse, and oh man, stopping Devonta Adams is going to be freaking crazy. So unfortunately, I have to answer no.
Well, there you go. The DOC, we appreciate you, Doc. You keep doing your thing. Good luck tomorrow, and we will catch you next Wednesday to preview that Cowboys game and recap what happens tomorrow. Hey, have a happy Thanksgiving as well, Doc. We appreciate you as always. We're thankful for you, the DOC.
And me as well. I'm thankful for you guys. I always enjoy Wednesdays. You make my days great. I enjoyed the text messages with you guys. You guys have enlightened my life in a new way with video podcasts and what it can bring to the table. And hey, if you want to become a member of the Lone Wolves podcast on YouTube, you can get our 3 emojis right here, the 3 amigos having some fun, guys. Keep killing it on YouTube. And simple debate. The best plate is with everything on it. Turkey, ham, stuffing, everything. Why are we discriminating? Shame on everybody for you want to cut out turkey? Are you kidding me? Turkey, ham, all of it. All of it. I want all of it. So I'm not saying no to anything. Happy Thanksgiving, people, and the chat. I love you guys.
There you go. The DOC joining the program, talking some Detroit.
Appreciate
Lions.
it, Doc.
Ragnow. Got about 5 minutes left. By the way, Pistons lost. It's unfortunate.
Hey, it was going to happen.
SW Lion 26. Great news on Frank, but how will the O-line get through these next 2 weeks? This is where the coaches make their money, scheming over the deficiencies in O-line. It's an uphill battle now, at least tomorrow, for sure. I mean, you're missing 2 guys on the interior. Not easy. So, like Dusty put, the Packers interior might not be as strong as their edges, but still, man, they're gonna have to. You're gonna have to get creative tomorrow, Boone. I don't know how else to say it. You're gonna have to get creative tomorrow.
That's why I think it turns defensively. Like I think if this Lions defense can hold them under 20, if you can find some sort of way to get yourself up, 3 touchdowns or 2 touchdowns and a couple field goals, like that's how you got to win this game tomorrow. I do think this is okay. A lot of people forget this. Do you remember Dan said at the beginning of the year where he was like, I want to find different ways to win games this year. Like I think like in the past they've won the same way every time. Like their offense scores 40 points and like that's what it is, right? Like they're just outscoring teams by 1 million. I think Dan makes that statement at the beginning of the year, like I want to find different ways to win. These are like those games where you have to find a different way to win, right? Like I think that's spot on at that point. It's man, you're not going to be able to go out there and score 40 tomorrow because you're missing half of your O-line and you haven't been great in pass blocking and things like that. So you have to find a different way to do it. So I think tomorrow is like a prime example of that. I think defensively, you're going to have to find a way. Special teams, you're going to need Khalif's out. You're going to need some returns from some guys. Dominic Lovett. You know who's playing tomorrow? The legend, Tom Kennedy. Like you're going to need some performances from some guys to step up. So I'm excited to see. It'll be interesting. Tomorrow's going to be interesting, and we're actually going to be at DraftKings too. I don't think we've announced that.
Yeah,
it's just been such a busy. Honestly, we probably should have been mentioned that. It was just Sunday night game straight into the week, and then obviously today, yesterday. It's been a busy show or a busy week, and then the Frank stuff today. But yeah, we are going to be at DraftKings tomorrow. So if you're in the area. I know it's Thanksgiving, so it's either you're probably at home or with family or you're downtown. But if you are in the area and you kind of just want to stop by or you're before you go and have Thanksgiving dinner with some people, come hang out and watch the game with the fellas. I'm interested to see how many people are there tomorrow. Last year we did it there. There were some people, but it's just, it's Thanksgiving at a restaurant. And I love the DraftKings spot we go to, man. Those people take care of us. It's an amazing spot. I love it there.
Always. They always take care of us, man. Shout out to Sam over there, the assistant GM. She's awesome, man. They welcome us in with open arms. We got 2 games there. We got Steelers, and then we have Thanksgiving, and then we're at Dog and Pony Show Brewing Rams game. So we have 3 kind of on the road games left. You guys are going to want to make it out. All right, Come out and hang with us, man. They're electric. They're fun.
Also, we are working. I actually talked to someone that has helped us out a lot, build Crunch Time last week. We are going to, at the new year, January, we're going to do something in Grand Rapids like we did last year. We're working on setting up like an event to maybe we have some other kind of content creators there, but we do our watch party in Grand Rapids.
Awesome.
So,
I love Grand Rapids.
I thought that was fun when we went last time. I know it's such a trip for us, and after the game, it's a little bit of a drive back. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I remember we went out there for Lions Packers. Actually, ironically,
yeah,
that was the game.
There was the guy at the bar who tried to steal my necklace. Do you remember that?
Yeah, because you told me we were outside. You're like, the guy took my necklace. So I went in there. I was like, hey.
I didn't know he just jacked it from me, and I was so in shock. Like I was like, this guy was like super drunk, and I was like, I can't. Like I went to the boys like, if I can't just go in, like this guy might just try and kill me. He was just drunk. Like
That's where the team steps up.
That's why I said, boys, I need you. And then you went in and we all followed behind and you just grabbed it and walked away. He like was hiding it under his clothes. It was so weird.
It's a lines change.
And I just keep it not making announcements. Saturday, we're going to be in Ann Arbor on Saturday. We're going to be there from like 7 a.m. until probably 11:30. And then we're going to do a watch party for Michigan, Ohio State.
Yeah. If you're watching the game, tune into our show. If we're not live right away, we'll be live. We're going to be live for the game.
We'll be live in the first quarter at some point.
Yeah. Talking shit. It'll be a good time. Klotz will be there. The Ohio State man himself. Boone will be there. They'll be at each other's necks. I might have to sit in the middle.
Yeah, that probably is a good idea.
You guys might be at each other's necks the whole game. It'll be a good one. ETN Mailbag, not a question. Just want to say you guys are crushing as usual. Keep it up, ETN.
Thank you, ETN. We appreciate that, man.
Day one right there. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Don't miss it. Even if you're with your family, let's say you guys are chilling, you guys are getting ready to eat after the game or before the game, whatever your schedule is. Turn us on while you're watching the game.
I'll say this too, and I'm going to put a guarantee on this. We will be live before 5 minutes before to give pay. We will be live. Can we just say this now? Let's go live at 12:30 tomorrow. Huh? How about that? The last like 2 times, dude, we get live and I'm just like, I throw my bets out there and then they're like, oh, kickoff. And it's like, oh no. We'll be live a little earlier tomorrow for the people. But hey, turn us on while the game's on and you're having dinner.
There you go. We'll see you guys tomorrow. But until then, appreciate you all. Peace.
Love you guys.